If anybody's been watching the videos that I've been making basically video blogs about the history of New York City DDR. If you don't know who I am, my name is Anthony. My nickname was Sketch. I played DDR from 2002 to about the end of 2005, 2006. I'm more than 10 videos in right now. And I just want to put New York City DDR on the map. I want to tell my story. But I also did the videos because I felt like a lot of people weren't recognized in the community. Myself included, but a lot of people as well. One of the people that I played DDR with was not only my best friend, but one of the best players in the country. And that is Angel Flores, who is also known as Phataxel. And I have Angel here today. So we're just gonna get into it and talk about what DDR was like for him in New York City and playing around that time. So, why don't you introduce yourself, let people know who you are.
Everyone knows me. Obviously, Anthony just said Phataxel, Angel. Bronx, New York, DDR player. Started around the same time as Anthony, maybe a little before 2002, kind of playing in Barcade. I think that was the place. Barcode.
The one in Times Square?
Yeah, that was the first time I ever stepped on the pad. And I played with my friend from high school, and the first song I ever played was Boom Boom Dollar, like the OG Boom Boom Dollar, where the steps was just like boom, 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 boom. And I failed miserably. I remember going back the next day, get like a game card or whatever, they had tokens, and I was like, I'm gonna pass this song. And at some point during that time, I ended up finding like Port Authority, and they had the DDR USA mix, and it was free. No one was ever there, so I got to like really play on that for a little bit before I figured out that Broadway City is where everyone all the good people went. And that's why I met Ash, and then I met Omar and Stefan, and then I met you in Chinatown when you were trying to stealth moving on because you were depressed, and I was like, what is he doing? Where are the arrows? Like, he's mad corny. Like, what is he doing? And then I realized how cool that was. So, I'm just excited to do this and talk more about what you got going on.
So you started playing at Barcode, and that's interesting because I don't really know too much about Barcode, and I don't know if we did, because not to go off on a tangent about arcades, what I do remember about Barcode is after a certain time you had to be 21 and over to get in. And that was a cool arcade, but you had to be 21 and over to get in Barcode. And
I would go right after school because my high school is right there on 49th Street.
Which high school?
Graphic Arts. So I would just go right down the street after school and just play. And honestly, it was a handful of times playing there before I went to Port Authority. And the USA mix was like I mentioned, was the only mix there. And we all remember USA mix. I think at that time, Fifth mix was the only mix that was really out in NYC. Okay, because I remember Stefan playing Dropout, and I was like, that's the fastest song I've ever seen anyone like do. So like that was still hot, and Seventh mix came out like very shortly, like right after that. Like it was almost like a month between that. But I wasn't playing in Broadway City. I was too timid, too scared to even try to get on the pad. Like nobody had to be looking. Like I was looking around, like too embarrassed.
So to go back a little bit, what was it that got you into DDR? Like you said, you started playing at Barcode, but like what kind of drew you into the game?
I got obsessed right away with like I'm a person that has rhythm at the end of the day. Like I know how to dance. It's just something I've always had. Like I always knew how to dance, but there was something about the choreography of like matching the arrows up, and I couldn't do it. It was like pissing me off. And actually, once I started playing in Port Authority was where I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get the hang of it. Like now I know like this note could do this, and I go, ba ba ba. Like okay, I'm moving my feet fast, you know. Like I'm liking the songs. But it was really when I went to Broadway City, and I saw like the Steffens, the Omar's, like Omar Stealth and Rhythm and Police. To me is probably one of the best things I've ever seen, to the point that once I started playing on heavy, I try to emulate that by only like knowing the first 15 like patterns of the beginning of it, and then like fucking failing, you know, just to kind of like show off something stupid like that.
So let me interrupt you real quick. The first memory I have of you was in Chinatown Fair.
Doing that.
And I remember being in Chinatown Fair, and you were really friendly from what I remember. Like you would, you know, we were both like, you know, young guys around the same age playing DDR. And maybe I was stealth and moving on, and I was just like, you had the step chart to Rhythm and Police printed out, and you were trying to stealth it by looking at the step chart. And I remember you like trying to get it, and that maybe that's why Omar and Stefan approached you, which we can get into in a little bit, to be in DDPD. But I do remember meeting you or already knowing you, and like talking with you in CF.
Yeah.
You trying to stealth Rhythm and Police.
I think also what really triggered what I wanted to play so much was how quickly, once I figured it out, I got somewhat decent. You know, I went from doing basic to trick back in the day. Trick, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then Maniac, and like I did it within the span of like maybe 6-7 weeks. That was, I was like constantly, and I was going every day after school. Like every day, I'm going to Port Authority. I had a couple bucks in my pocket. I went to the change machine, and I would play like simple songs just to learn, like Butterfly, Dooba Doob, whatever. What was it called? Whatever, right?
Yep.
Just like simple. You know the notes better than I do. Like ba ba ba. What do you call those? Eighth notes, right? Just like learning the basics of just moving my feet with that without even trying to do crossovers or any of that stuff.
Right.
And I got there. I got good fast, and I think that was a pivotal point for me, because I realized that I can actually impact. That there's something there that can be attained, and I think I can actually do it. And I just didn't have the formula yet. I didn't have the motivation yet. I didn't have the stepping stones, whatever kind of analogy you want to use. There was something there that drove me to continue to play and to continue to learn and really get like obsessed with it, to the point where all I thought about was like in school. Like I'm still in high school, and I'll be on my desk like playing, you know, like in my head, you know, I should be paying attention to something's going on the board. I'm just like, I can't wait, I'm gonna play that song. I know I could beat it. I failed it yesterday, but I know I could beat it, type of deal. But yeah, man, that's kind of like what really spearheaded the beginning journey of like the Phataxel persona, or the just like, you know, I really think Omar, like talking to him, and I actually became friends with Omar first. And no, sorry, I think I became friends with Stefan first, and he introduced me to Omar. I could be wrong. It was 20 years ago. But one of those two things happened, and I actually got close with Omar just talking about life and stuff like that. And he wanted to make this group called DDPD. And at that time, I'm like, cool, part of something, you know, I just started playing this game no more than 4 months ago, and I'm like, you know, I'm playing in Broadway City, you know, I'm accepted by this community and stuff like that. And little did I know what just started in my life. Little did I know that, you know, my best friend, my best man, you know, my son's godfather was going to come out of that, and Andre and Ash and so many other people. I really appreciate what the game did for me early on. I actually appreciate myself a little bit more thinking about it, that I actually stuck with something that I knew, you know, I could do some damage in a good way, I guess you can say. I can really do, I don't know, it's really hard to find a perfect word to assimilate what I felt in the very beginning of those stages?
I think it's kind of hard because this is one of the reasons why I think it's important to document this, is because this wasn't just us playing DDR and the game was established and the community was established. Like, we were part of the beginning of something that we had no idea about, and we just didn't even know how cool this thing was. It was like we're both gamers, so like you played video games in middle school and high school, and I played video games in middle school and high school. So this was just like a physical video game. We didn't know it was going to be much more than that. So I think that is one of the reasons why it's hard to verbalize what DDR was. What I wanted to ask you before we get into the nitty gritty of like the community and the players and how you develop your skill level was, a lot of people don't understand how unique it is growing up in New York City in general. You know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned in a lot of my videos, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I didn't get into the details of it, but it's different. It's not like we grew up in the suburbs or like in the Midwest or like some area where our parents had a lot of money. We didn't have DDR in our garages. We didn't have garages. So you grew up in the Bronx and you grew up in the South Bronx. So I just want you to talk a little bit about what it was like to grow up in that environment, good, bad, or otherwise. Like, maybe to you it was an okay environment, maybe it wasn't. Your neighbor had a reputation. That there's no two ways around that. The South Bronx has a reputation. So what was it like growing up in your neighborhood and transitioning into this video game community that became a part of your life?
I think the best word to describe it is escapism, right? The community, DDR, all that stuff kind of provided relief from something I was going home to. Like the South Bronx growing up, it's just a rough area. It's still a rough area now, okay? 40th Precinct, there's just a lot of drugs and gang violence and activities and stuff like that, that I had to maneuver to go to school and deal with, you know, on a daily basis. You know, just walking from my building to the subway to go to high school was like a 7 block walk, right? To a very dangerous subway. It was 6 train, 138 Brook Avenue. It wasn't a walk in the park, right? I remember times walking home and people would come up to me like, "Hey man, you live here? Like, you live around here?" I'm like, all right, they're testing me. Like, what's gonna happen now, you know? And I remember a time in middle school, I was walking home with like a whole bunch of people, and I got singled out because I was kind of like the pretty boy out of it, stuff like that. So it's like you have to defend yourself right away. If you don't, it's just gonna not work out in your favor. So I think for me, finding the community outside of it, I really kind of give my sister credit. My sister really wanted me to go to high school not in New York, like not in the Bronx. I mean, like, she went to high school in Manhattan. She went to Fashion Industries in the early 90s and 89 and 92 or something like that, or 88 to 92. And that was very pivotal for her. She met so many of her friends that she still knows now, right? And was able to get out of, at that time, was even worse than what I was dealing with, right? So growing up in that community and finding I guess you can say like a timeout from reality for a couple hours was what really did it for me. And at first it wasn't that, and it really quickly became that. And then when the friendships were forged within that, like, I knew, this is not going to be the end of the case for me. Like, it's going to be all right. Like, it's good. I still have to navigate this jungle every now and then, and until I could finally get out of there, which it took me a long time to finally do get out of there. But right, I got older, I got wiser. I got educated. Like, the things changed. I was doing things that people in that neighborhood wasn't doing, or they didn't want to do. But at the same time, the street smarts were still there for me.
I was gonna say, one of the things I remember from going to your neighborhood was, after a couple times of hanging out with you, even before we were best friends, like we were good friends, acquaintances, I had a route. I'd get off the train and you may have told me this, or maybe I just figured it out from just growing up in Brooklyn, but I knew the route that I took to get to your house, not because it was familiar, but because it just seemed like the safest route. And I don't know, it was like a main street. There was like a little video game shop on the street. Not a GameStop, but
it was a Game Champ. I think it was called something stupid.
And I would hit that street and I would just go down and make a left. And I didn't do anything else because, I mean, there's rough neighborhoods in Brooklyn, but like where you were, like I didn't look at anybody the wrong way. I just boom, boom, and boom. And I get into your building, and sometimes your building was a little rough to get in. Because I had friends in those kinds of situations where you had to, like, if there's people outside, you just got to enter a certain way because that's their building. So I just, boom, hit the elevator, and that was it. And that was, I never had any issues, but I feel like people really have to understand where we were coming from. It wasn't like a walk in the park. Aside from the fact that New York City taxed the shit out of us when it came to DDR, Broadway City was $2 a game, Laser Park was $2 a game. Barcode was $2. All the Times Square arcades were $2 a game. Aside from that, and aside from the fact that we lived in a cramped city, we come from a different we're cut from a different cloth. Yeah. And I think that can't be overstated. So I just want to make sure that people understand where you're coming from. You weren't just like this pretty boy who like was good at DDR or whatever. Like, it wasn't easy to even get into that in the first place. We were nerds, like we were branded as nerds. Yeah,
and the irony of it is like now as I'm much older and where I live down in Florida, I'm like I'm respectful for people, but like don't
Yeah. So, all right, you started playing. You were good friends with Omar. You knew Stefan. You met me. DDPD started to take shape. This is around the 5th mix time. For me, 5th mix was a really warm and special feeling. It was fun. The community was more unified. New York City, I mean, not the rest of the DDR. New York City was more unified. It was new. It was such a good mix because it has such a vast array of songs. I know it had all the 4th mix songs, but you didn't even feel like that. It just like felt like the whole mix was just like.
It was a good mix. It's one of the better mixes for me personally, just to play and enjoy. We know we could talk about like the timing window and stuff like that, but that was the first mix that the frame rate, like the resolution of the arrows compared to 4th mix and the mixes before was very crisp. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I can remember. I remember having the home version
of 5th
mix, like on the PS1, and like playing like stupid songs. Mm-hmm. But this was after like we even were already playing like Extreme. It was one they used to buy.
You had the modded.
Yeah. The best memory I have I have a few, but the one that stands out the most I wanted to bring this up was with Ironfoot, Sean.
Okay.
And what was the song for Hottest Theme? For Hottest Theme come out, and we all know Sean. We knew his gameplay, and he played one foot, Ironfoot. It was what his left foot did, like the left arrow, and the right foot did everything else. Yeah. And for Hottest Theme was a lot of double stepping, a lot of just no. And he was there. I think Omar was there, and he played it, and I'm seeing him really just like dedicated. Like he had the one arm going and stuff like that.
I forgot Sean used to do that.
And he's like, because he's really focused, right? Yeah. And he full comboed it, like double dated.
He full combo for Odyssey like that.
Yeah. Oh, and he jumped off like yes, like jumped clear off the pad completely, and that was like one of the like best memories I can have. It was in Broadway City. I remember I was standing with Omar on the skee ball lanes behind, because we used to just like stand on those lanes all the time. Yeah. And we're just watching him. Just he's like focused, like really, really going in. So, and that's always such a great song to just play in general. But it's a difficult song, and for him to do it the way he played, that's like to me my number one fondest memory of that mix and Sean in general.
I'm gonna ask you to do an impression of Omar at the end of this interview.
Oh, I don't even know if I could do that anymore.
It's all right. At the end of the interview, I'm gonna ask you to do that. I forgot about the skee balls. Those were good times. So for fifth mix, you were like in it. Like you were in the DDR community by the time fifth mix came out.
Fifth mix came out, I was invested. Seventh mix shortly came after that. And
did you stealth rhythm? What else did you stealth in fifth mix? Did you stealth anything else in fifth mix?
I don't believe so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe so.
But you played fifth mix. You played fifth mix.
I played fifth mix. Like, to me, fifth mix was my mix. Like, my favorite song in fifth mix, actually my favorite song in all of DDR is Synchronized Love. I actually think I AAA Synchronized Love in the 8 on the Break Old Timers tournament.
You did. We're gonna get into
talk
that,
about
but
that.
You did.
That
was so ironic. Anyway, we'll get into that.
Like that song, like it's like that's a free song for me. If I black flag it, that's probably the worst I'll get on it. But
on fifth mix.
On fifth mix.
On fifth mix.
I AAA'd it on fifth mix.
Yes.
In that thing, yeah. And you did Boom Boom Dollar in that same tournament. We'll talk about that. But so fifth mix for me was like my mix, and then seventh mix comes out to Broadway City. And let's go back a little bit. Sixth mix was out already. We just never got it in the city.
Did you go with them to Fun and Games to ever try out Max?
No,
I didn't either. You didn't.
No.
You never went with them. Okay.
I wasn't we weren't doing that yet.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But when seventh mix came out, I remember we got introduced to Max Unlimited, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess you could say Max 300 because we didn't have sixth mix. With that being said, that's what really kind of changed the game moving forward. You know, Konami didn't know what it did to our community. We in the community didn't know what we were going to do to ourselves in the next couple of months, okay? We didn't know how close we were going to get with the same, I guess, I don't even want to say agenda. Because I honestly could say this, I never had the passion to be the best the way that hunger that you had, I never had that. For me, it was just keeping up with you. Mm-hmm. That was my, you Goku on Vegeta. That's all it was, right?
Before you, finish that thought. So you were trying to keep up with me.
I was trying to keep up with you. Okay. But we'll digress.
Before you talk about seventh mix, one of the things that I never spoke about, in depth that I want to touch on in my videos, but we could talk about it first here, is that Stepmania to me and the simulators was like such a pivotal part because A, it was free, and B, like it introduced us to songs without us having to mod our PS1s and so on and so forth. So did Stepmania play a role in your progression to get good at DDR? And if it did, like what kind of role did Stepmania play for you?
Not right away, and here's why. The first time I was actually introduced to a computer base was DWI.
DWI, yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's where I got like my first taste of like whatever, like just shit that hit the fan. Like, no one's ever gonna do that type of deal, right? Mm-hmm. B-Money Ruler, V, all that stuff, right? But it wasn't until we got access to memory card slots, and I want to talk about this later on, but we inadvertently at that time did something that no one else was doing. We were making ourselves better just by trying to beat something that was made up, and it made, for me, I don't know if you felt this way, and if you did, maybe this is the reason why I pushed you towards options. It made DDR boring for me afterwards.
It made regular DDR boring?
Regular DDR boring for me afterwards. And we could touch on options. I got a lot to say about that stuff. But Stepmania for me was more of just timing, okay? And you can adjust the timing on Stepmania, so it's kind of hard to really know what it is. And DDR Extreme and Konami, the way they did things, they really just kind of stomped on our faces at the end of the day when it came to syncing up songs properly. With that being said, just it didn't really play a factor until we started seeing the Specchio edits, and we started getting the V edits into the game, and we started making, you know, stupid edit. Like I used to make stupid edits. Remember I put your faith in me edit that I showed you? Yeah. That I did with buttons, right? And I didn't know how to do edits correctly on the PS, but like it just kind of really branched my thought process out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that makes enough sense, and I don't think that Stepmania gets enough credit. I have such warm feelings of like, bro, my living room, Andre Fields Jinx living room, and your bedroom. No, my bad. My living room, Andre's bedroom, or your bedroom. At any given point in time, I'll be waiting for one of y'all to get ready so we can go play DDR, and I'd be on your computer. I'd be on your computer playing Stepmania while you were in the bathroom getting ready or whatever, or Andre was getting ready.
Yeah. I guess if you, I didn't think about it like that. I apologize.
No.
I guess you could say it from that standpoint. Yeah, it does bring up those fond memories. I just don't think it really impacted my gameplay right away. Okay, not towards the tail end of the end of me.
You had a I had a computer, you had a computer, right? And you used to play. I'm trying to get you to say something. So you had a computer, I had a computer, right? And I used to have Stepmania on my computer, and at the time my computer wasn't that bad. My computer had 8 gigabytes, an 8 gigabyte hard drive, and you had the same exact computer. You remember how you got that computer, and how we both got the same computer?
That computer, we went to Brooklyn Atlantic Terminal, right? We went to some store. I ended up getting some money. I don't remember where I got the money from. It was like a G, something stupid like that. And I bought that computer.
Yeah.
It was like a 512 megabyte RAM.
That was
like
good at the time.
Something fucking like stupid, right? Yeah. It was like a Hewlett Packard.
HP, yeah. It was
HP, right?
Yeah.
It was like gray and bluish tower looking thing, whatever the case may be.
You remember what we did after you got the computer, or right before we got the computer?
No.
Nah? You remember sitting on that stoop waiting for me?
You went to that modeling audition.
Yo.
And oh man.
Yo.
Man, that was that same day?
That's why we went down there.
So this guy, all right, listen, when you're young, you just gotta try and make money, right? Regardless. So we thought we were good looking kids, all right? We were, right? You know? And Craigslist always, was it Craigslist that you did that?
Nah, that guy I was at a fair, and
so some guy came up to him, and Anthony agreed to whatever this guy wanted, right? So we're in like Brooklyn, and now that I remember it, right, we got the computer or whatever the case may be. The guy actually lived in like a really nice brownstone, like it was like a beautiful brownstone apartment, and I think I probably waited all of 20 minutes, 30 at the max, and Anthony came out very like dejected and just kind of like like I'm like, you good? And like you know Anthony, right? Like he's like, yo, let's go. Like I'm like, oh man, what happened, right? So as we're walking, you want me to go into details?
Go ahead.
Because I remember some of the details, okay, right?
What do you remember?
So like I think you were saying like at first it was all good, right? His photography, like the photographers like photos, right? And stuff like that. And the only detail I remember is that he made you put on this fishnet, like a fishnet shirt, like just over. Yeah. And he squeezed your nipples to perk them up for the photo. Yo. And you stood there like a puta and let it happen. You supposed to be from Brooklyn, like.
Yo, that guy.
See, that's what Brooklyn people do. They let that shit happen. Bronx people, nah, that shit's out. He would have got knocked out right there.
So what happened was Angel wanted to get the computer. I think I already got the computer, and you know, like our minds was like, of course, like we're already playing DDR by this time. We're good friends or whatever. And I think you had been to my house, so you were just like, yo, this is the computer. I want to get the same one. So Circuit City. So it could have been before or after you got the computer, but I was just like, this guy wants me to model. And then back then, this is before like TikTok and people making money off of YouTube.
It was
like
2003.
2004. Yeah, 2003. If somebody says they want you to model, you think in your head, I can make money off of this. So I was like, yo, let's go get the computer, but this guy wants me to come through for like a model shoot. He said he's gonna pay me like $20 an hour, which in 2003, forget about it. So I was like, yo, just wait out here just in case anything is weird. And just wait on the stoop, that way you know where I am. So when I was in there, I went in there, he asked me to put on this fishnet shirt. So I put the shirt on. I don't even know why I did it, really. And he was like, this way he did. He was like that. He was like, and he perked my nipples up. And so the reason why I left was because he asked me to put the shirt on. I put the shirt on. And I was just like, nah, I don't think I'm good. And he was like, well, try these pants on. And they were fishnet pants. So they were basically like, I basically would have been naked. So that's when I just dipped. And I was like, yo, let's go. So,
oh man, that was funny.
Anyway, that's the thing, man.
That's a funny memory.
People don't know how far back we go, and that's how far back we go. But that was good time. So Stepmania, right? Like we played Stepmania. We had the computing power to do it. Andre had a pretty good computer, and
I think Andre had the best computer.
Yeah, he was.
We would go to his house to play Stepmania and just chill out.
Yeah, Andre, he was like a PC kind of.
Yeah.
He was into that kind of building his own computers and everything. So 7th Mix comes out. You were talking about 7th Mix. So this is solidly into we are DDPD. Stefan is the best. Deshaun is the best. You can argue that Deshaun is a little bit better. What was the 7th Mix era like for you?
Now that I think about it, looking through the lens when that first came out, I felt like I knew 7th Mix was gonna change something. We just didn't know the gravity of where it was going, right? Mm-hmm. We knew that, people were, I remember this like vividly. People were like purposely trying to get like people's third songs just to double A it to get like the extra stage, right? Yeah, for a chance to do unlimited, right? Mm-hmm. And that was at the time who were the two boys from Chinatown?
I think
Nick and
his brother. I don't know. I don't remember his name, but it was Afro Noya Nick.
They were really good.
And Afro Noya Nick's little brother. And the rumor was, do you remember the rumor about his little brother? His little brother was arguably one of the best in the city. I'm gonna ask Deshaun about this, but he couldn't go anywhere because he had extreme motion sickness. That was the rumor. Mm-hmm. Nick would come up to Broadway City. Afro Noya Nick would come up to Afro Noya Nick. I mentioned this in I mentioned this in one of my videos. Afro Noya Nick was one of the best players in New York at the time.
Easily.
Before me and Angel were coming up, it was Big Matt, Afro Noya Nick, Sarcastic Mofo, Vagrafine, and PerfectAsymmetry. This is right after Ironfoot. He had a little brother. That's what Angel was mentioning. His brother was supposedly as good as Nick, or if not better.
I think he was better, in my opinion.
But apparently he had extreme motion sickness to the point where he couldn't even ride the train. So he didn't go to any other arcades except Chinatown Fair.
So because I remember, when people were trying to pass Unlimited, in Broadway City, people were only get like, it's like the first set of like the step jump, right? And I remember one time in Chinatown seeing Afro Noya Nick, and I really want to know his brother's name. I feel like it starts with a T or something like that.
Okay.
They would get to the part when it's like ba-da-ba, 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 ba-da-ba,
which
was a big deal back then. And then I also heard a rumor of 10 from 8 on the Break passing it or something like that, so it changed perspective of what good really is, but no one knew about it.
Right.
And the only reason why I'm saying that is after watching your videos and reminiscing on how through your lens is where I'm like, this is one of the things I want to talk about. The perspective changed drastically. You had Deshaun, who arguably, in my personal opinion, is my favorite player, like, ever. Even more so than you. And I have a funny Deshaun story. We get to that, right? And then, to me, Big Matt. I think Big Matt is, like, the best overall player. And this is like a little quick like anecdote of how my mental thinking is, okay? Let's just work with me here, okay? Like, think of us as like baseball cards, right? And then you have like 5 graphs, and you could put it like 10 footers, sorrow, happy, hardcore, so on and so forth, right? And while like you will be like good, like you'll have like over 95%, right? But your 10 footers will be like maxed. Your sorrows will be like 98, right? And like whatever, so on and so forth. But everything will be good. Yeah. But you're not balanced. Something's really, really strong. Okay. Like for Big Matt, everything would be like 95 down the middle.
I could agree with that.
Right? Like his sorrow songs would be good, right? His 10 footers he'll keep up, right? Yes. His bread and butter, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, was to me I always thought happy hardcore songs was his bread and butter.
He was good at those weird ass.
He was like Sweet Magic, Witch Doctor, stuff like that. Like that's the pivotal moment that I always remember Matt. Like he was phenomenal in that stuff, and I always wish that Matt like hung out with us more. I think if he would have hung out with us a lot more, he would have given you a run for your money too. And here's why. He had more hunger than I did at that time. You know, like I said earlier, I was just trying to keep up with you. Yeah. But like that's how I think about stuff. Like, you know, like in terms of players, it's like cards, like graphs.
I always say me and Matt, I feel like me and Matt used to have this conversation. But if we did it, then I dreamt it. I don't know. But
off the record, let's name 5 categories of DDR in terms of like, well, you know, like you have your sorrow. Yeah. You have your 10 footers. Okay. I guess what you can call
I would say the happy hardcore, the one that you said. Because those were all like 8 footers. They were like really weird ass. And when I mentioned Matt earlier, I was saying like that song Yozoro no Mugo. It was like, oh, what a time.
Yeah. He will kill that.
Yeah.
What else? Let's name 2 more.
Your straightforward 8th notes.
8th notes?
Exotic.
And then what was the other ones that like Antonio WBR can't do?
Yeah, like I don't know what they call those jackhammers or
like
jackhammer. I used to call them machine gun.
Like
runs.
I remember one time I picked Jam Reggae on your ass and you almost snapped your foot.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it.
But like I would think of us even at that time as like trading cards. Yeah. And I always thought Matt was just perfect down the middle. He was always able to just keep up.
Matt was balanced and
balanced.
I think that is not an unfair statement to say.
Because he's really good.
Yeah, always.
Matt's phenomenally good.
Matt's been good since Deshaun and Ironfoot were good. What I used to say to I feel like I had this conversation with Matt. I used to say to Matt when we got really into the DDR community, I felt like Matt was Professor X because he was always trying to reason with, you know, like the AAA people and the rest of the community, and I was Magneto. I was just like, fuck it. Just let them, they want a AAA stuff, let them AAA stuff, and then let them come to a tournament and let's just play things on options. And Matt played on options, but he was always just like, no. He was always trying to reason with the rest of the community and was trying to be diplomatic. Because he still plays and he knows everybody and everybody knows him.
Do you think that because Matt is so old school that he just wanted to get back to that where like fifth mix days where things were copacetic like that, you know?
I don't know, maybe, but Matt played, you know, Matt doesn't play like that anymore. Matt plays like the rest of the community, which is fine, but like he just seemed like back then. I love Matt, like, you know, Matt, we fuck with Matt. Matt's always been like cool with us. But
I always think Matt didn't think I liked him, but I'm just an asshole, so don't take that to heart, okay? But like
this guy's an asshole.
But like you were always like Deshaun's like my favorite, but you were like right there like every single time. And I always have to give credit to Jimin. There's one memory I have of Jimin, and
Jimin is
Vagrant Fiend, right? And you know Jimin, he was like an enigma. He's there and then he's gone, right? Type of deal. And I don't know if I think we were in Broadway City. And I was there and he was just there. And out of nowhere, he just started helping me with like songs. Like songs to fuck people up in. And this was before like we got like, it was 7th mix.
Yeah.
And he was the first one to introduce me to Hidden Shuffle Flat.
Okay.
He got me to try and pass Drifting Away on Hidden Shuffle Flat. I remember
Flores,
this. And he told me, if you can do this, you'll be good. And it took me several tries.
Yeah, but you
but I did it. And that was the first song I ever passed on Hidden Shuffle Flat.
You're forgetting one very important detail of that. This was 1X.
Yeah, 1X. 1X. Sorry.
No. It's fine. I just want to emphasize that because this was part of your bread and butter. And we'll talk about it more when we talk about options. But this was all 1X. Yes, Max 2 had options. It had speed. But we didn't play with speed. So what he's talking about is Drifting Away, which was arguably a sorrow song. It didn't come out in Extreme, but this is on 1X.
But here's the thing with Drifting Away on 7th mix, the background turns all white.
Oh.
When it's like that's white going up 1X. You have to remember at least 12 steps in shuffle. I failed miserably the first like 20 times out of the gate. It took me a long time to pass. And Jimin was the only one to be like, you can do it. Like, you got this. You can do it. If you can start passing this, you're ahead of things.
I didn't know that, but I used to pick Absolute on people on Hidden Shuffle Flat for the same reason. And Absolute is like 130, 140 beats per minute. But on Hidden Shuffle Flat, the background does turn white. So the hidden starts lower because the arrows fade into the background. So I would just pick Absolute on people just because of that reason. And I forgot Drifting Away was a really good song.
I can't wait. I want to go when we get into options. I got a lot to say about options. So we're in 7th mix. Now, this is one thing that I will say. I'll say it. I'll say it. You were better than me at Max Unlimited. Yeah, I was better than anyone in the community on Max Unlimited.
You were better.
And here's the one thing I remember about that. There's one fond memory that I'm going to see if I jog it for you. Okay. I was playing in Bruckner. Okay. You were meeting up with me. It was early, right? Like it was like a normal session. I forgot there was a local Bruckner person there, and I played Max Unlimited that day. Okay. And at this time, no one could get under like 50, 60 grades. It was right. I remember I came up to you and I said, like, I got 49 grades on Max Unlimited. You looked at me dead in my eyeball and said, I don't believe you.
Oh, man, for real? Oh, man, I'm sorry.
That set a precedent and a course for me. I'm like, I got you, bro.
Oh, man.
I got you.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
And every single chance I got that, like, you weren't around, I played Max Unlimited. I played Max Unlimited until it was no one, like, in my mind, that was going to be my first 10-foot of AAA.
Oof.
No doubt. I don't remember what my best was. I think
I've seen SDG Max Unlimited.
I think it was like under 6 or 5. I really can't guess.
I've seen you get under 5 grades on Unlimited.
Right. You do have a video of me playing Adam and FYE that I did like 12 grades, and that's like 2000.
No, that was early 2004 when it was still people weren't really doing it like that. Not like that.
At that time, people were getting like 50 to 40, right?
There were other players who could do that, but not. When I say nobody, I mean like not very many people.
Yeah,
were doing that.
And the thing with Unlimited is that Unlimited really humbled anybody that tried. It was a true 10-footer in the sense that it just wasn't about streams, right? You had your freezes, you had your slowdowns, you had your jumps, you had your step jumps, right? You have your little tiny crossover here, crossover there, step freeze. It was an important 10-footer for me personally because of that comment that you made that day.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that. And do you remember saying that to me?
No. I don't remember saying that to you. What I'll say is that as competitive as I was, and I guess if this was 7 mix, This was 7 mix?
No, this was Extreme by this time.
This was Extreme. Depending on when it was, I could see myself saying that, not because I didn't believe you, but Unlimited used to kick the shit out of me. So like,
it did it to a lot of people, and for some reason, I got to the point. If you watch that video of like me playing Adam at the FYA tournament, I had it at that point to a science of how my body should be. It was 1x, but yes, I did use the bar, but I didn't use the bar in the entire song. There was actually parts in the song that my body knew I needed to be off the bar to be accurate. And there's not a lot of 10-footers that would do that at the time, in my opinion.
So the beginning, this is my fucking kryptonite. That beginning, the step, jump, that never really gave you a problem? What was it about Unlimited? There was just nothing in Unlimited that gave you any issues? So
I remember when I got I think one of my best scores on Unlimited before like I started getting under 25 grades. It was like a full combo. I was in Port Authority and I think Najee was there.
Laser Park Najee?
Laser Park Najee.
Okay. And
I got like a 30, like it was 39 perfect combo. And at that point I realized I was like, I know where all my grades will come from moving forward. And I just focused on every single layer. So for me, I have to get a perfect from the very beginning to the last step jump. That's where I'll always get a grade at. And oddly enough, I will always get a grade at that last step jump when it crosses over.
Yeah.
But before that, I will perfect attack it from that point. I will always get several grades for some reason at the gallops right before the freeze. That's because I was holding onto the bar. And if you watch that video, I let go of the bar. I started teaching myself how my body's composition needed to be, just like you taught yourself how to do it with PSMO. Right? You couldn't do the third crossover. You had to double step it.
Oh, damn. Wow. You remember that? Okay.
I remember that. So it's like, I think that is a true mark of a really good player, because you're being detailed at what your body can do when it should do it, and how to respect and humble a song, how to respect the song and how easily a song can humble you no matter how many times you've done it. So I'm glad you brought up Unlimited, because again, you were the like the focus. Like when you said you looked at me square in the eye, and you was like, I think you even pointed at me. Like I was ready to fight you in your white and blue diesel jacket. Like you're like, I don't believe you. I was like, damn, like you can't even give me like love here, man. Like, so well, if I said that, there might have been I was gonna say a little bit. There's definitely insecurity, because I never was able to get as good at you at Unlimited as you were, because like my best on Unlimited is it's between 2 and 4 grades. I don't remember. I looked this up and I have it in one of my older videos. My best on Unlimited is that. But that was focused. You know? You were just good at Unlimited. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but even in 7th mix you realize Unlimited was my 10-footer, because like Max 300 was a very respectable 10-footer at the time. A lot of people had a lot of issues with it because of the streams, because of the runs. It was stamina draining, right? But I just think that people took Unlimited, they made it harder in their head. And maybe it's a personal thing, maybe because of how I attacked it, it wasn't as hard. But I think so many people, I don't know, it was easier for people to try and beat it reverse 1.5 on extra stage with a battery than once it came out and people were like, that's I don't know what to do. True, because when I played it on extra stage, I was going OD, and when it came out regular, it just got in my head, and then all of a sudden I wasn't good at it. And I think I found something that, and it was just a personal thing for me, that like I could do this. Like I could do this probably better than anyone else, in my opinion. You know, so But that was 7th mix, for me. And
what else did you play on 7th mix? Like, what else did you like besides Drifting Away and Unlimited?
So Deep was always such a great song.
Yeah.
It's so weird because in my mind, 7th mix just had a small time window in New York City. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember a lot of like 7th mix. I remember we got introduced to Only courses, right? And that was always fun.
Yeah.
Was World Tour in that one, or
that was Extreme, I think.
I used to play an Oni course on 7th mix, but I used to play a lot of like Oni courses on that because it was just better bang for your buck. You just kind of trying to get your timing down on some random songs or something like that. But for me, it was more of just, it was a decent mix. I love Waka Laka because of the step jump, whatever.
That song
step
was
jump.
synchronized. I felt like I never AAA'd that song, even before or after the JSB CSA2 tournament when we were or not for AAAs necessarily, but I flagged that song more times than I can count.
It was a good song. And I think 7th mix actually had a lot of decent songs that were actually like really synced. I think it was a very fun mix in my opinion. I think Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I think you brought up another thing for a qualifier, but we got introduced to that because it was on 6th mix and it finally came out on 7th mix. Yeah. So we got introduced to a lot of random songs. Twilight Zone.
Little Boy was a 7th mix exclusive.
Little Boy. Yeah. That was a good song. That was actually a really great step chart too.
Yep. It was kind of like DXY and Stoic, but it was kind of not. It was like step, jump, step, jump, step, jump.
Like 7th mix had a lot of just good step charts, in my opinion. And I'm actually having a fog right now trying to figure out like what songs were on that mix.
It was a lot of there were some songs on that mix that just, it was like 7th mix and then they just never made it before or after. I don't know if the people who were making that mix reached out to a lot of like artists and were like licensing songs, because I think the Captain Jack stuff like Little Boy and even Drifting Away, those are real songs.
Was 7th mix? I think 7th mix is when we got introduced to a lot of those remixes.
But yes, it was notorious for that. It was Sexy Planet had a remix.
Orion,
Sexy Planet remix. There was what song did I like to play? You know what my favorite remix from 7th mix is? Celebrate Night. The remix.
Oh, that's right. You did play that a lot.
I really did like that song. That was a good song.
She was funny, that Orion Civilization mix. I could never get it.
It was hard. That was
such a hard song. Yep. That was one of those songs like, we all had songs that we just knew it was like hope no one watches me play this song, because next time they watch me play it, I gotta like do really good. And that song for me, I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get it.
Correct. You remember the background though? Me and you used to find the background. There was like this like polygon PS PlayStation 1 kind of guy. And that part in the middle where like in the regular song, the remix, was she's like screaming. She's like, and then the guy would just go, hi. And me and you would be in the
we'd be in the background.
If Adam or like somebody else would play with me, and you would just be like.
Speaking of which, this has nothing to. No, this is so like I have to bring it up before I forget it. I don't know what it was that Andre. We were at NYDS, and Andre was playing Electro Tune nonstop, like nonstop. I don't know why. And the part that's like, oh, right? Yeah. Again, I don't know why Andre was playing this so much. Like he was playing nonstop, and Deshaun was there, and another great memory. And that part came up, and Deshaun was like, "Oh!" in the middle of NYDS, and Andre just started. No, he kept playing, but he's just like, ah. He started cracking up, and that just came up to my head, man. I didn't want to lose that memory.
Yeah, man. 7th mix was a good mix. And I kind of agree with you. It was kind of like a short period of time, but it also felt like a long and full time in the New York City DDR community. Like I said in my other videos, by this time, Sean Ironfoot had stopped playing. Stefan and Deshaun were there, but I always said that 7th mix was Deshaun's mix. That was his mix. And
it was beautiful mix for him. I mean, especially that Sports World Tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, he did that Oni course against
I think. Damn, I looked this up.
What was that guy's name?
Was it the Connecticut guy or was it the Maryland guy? Damn, I looked this up and I can't remember. And
it was like 2 trick songs, 2 standard songs at first. Like I think it was like Absolute started or something like that. It had Burning Heat in it. And I remember watching that video, and damn, I have a good memory. I remember watching that video, and I think Deshaun correct me in the comments. There was like a battery, right?
Yeah.
And like Deshaun had like kind of turned weird in that, whatever part, but he kept it together. And I remember the end of that video when he won. It was kind of like he cemented himself. And I think that 7th mix was the last one because the next Sports World was Extreme. That was a year later.
It was called Christmas of Fire. That was Extreme, and yeah, from what I remember, Deshaun PerfectAsymmetry, like he jumped off the pad and like did one of those, and that wasn't very like him. Like Deshaun wasn't really like that, and he did that, and that was like a big deal. What was the name of that guy? It wasn't Jesse. Was from Connecticut. And there was a guy from Maryland, and his name was also Harold.
I feel like he was a guy from Maryland. I just don't know the...
His name was Harold, but I don't remember his nickname, because there was 2 Harolds. You remember, like, I don't know if you have any Max Paranoia.
Your doppelganger?
Not him. That was
he looked like you.
Yeah, a lot of people said me and Max Paranoia looked alike, but there was another guy from Maryland. His name was Harold. And Deshaun's going to be in the comment section was like, this is his name. But I forgot his name. And that was the guy who played Deshaun in that Sports World 7th Mix tournament, which if
you look at those videos, there's like, and I definitely want to dive into freestyle at some point in the near future.
We have to, yeah.
But I remember Wicket's DXY freestyle. Did you ever watch that video?
No, but I remember the name Wicked.
With the camera, there was like a part at the end where it's like right before it's like right before the beat hits back in. He turns around and is like, smile. He had a disposable camera with so he was like charging the flash, and he turned around and was like, smile, and he just fucking went in. Like it was like one of those pivotal moments. I think Nugget was in that one, and obviously Don's drifting away, thing on that one. So I think Sports World was, and I hate to say it like this, and I truly don't mean this in any type of disrespect at all. I think it was just a good farewell to that generation.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
Right?
That is an interesting way to put it.
Whoever needed to come out on top and at that point came out on top. Whether you were freestyle, whether you were tech, right? And it was a perfect way to say, hey, it's good. Yeah. Just like with you in 2005, right? You proved your point. We'll get into that later, but after that, it was done, right? Yeah. It kind of reset itself, and I think you let the laws of, if you want whatever you want to believe in, you want to believe in Murphy's Law or laws of physics or whatever, you let the world survival of the fittest. Anything that happens, you let it kind of just do what it does.
It's funny that you say that because Deshaun did.
And again, no disrespect.
Yeah, no, not at all. Deshaun did play Max Unlimited in that tournament, and as I mentioned, and as we knew, Deshaun wasn't anti-10-footer, but correct me if I'm wrong, we just didn't see him playing 10-footers, right? I don't know what it was. I will ask him if I can get him in front of a camera. He just didn't play it, and I don't know if Max Paranoia picked it on, not Max Paranoia, whoever he played in the finals, Harold, picked Max Unlimited. He did play Max Unlimited in the finals of that Sports World tournament. But that didn't, as much as I say we were into 10-footers, it wasn't enough in 7th mix to define who was a good player, and I'll say that.
But there was only 2.
There was only 2. So even though Deshaun may or may not have been good at Max Unlimited, it wasn't as big of a factor. And he did play Burning Heat, and they did play that Oni course. And at the end of that, the guy had failed or something. He was freestyling at the end of he knew he lost, so he was freestyling at the end of that set because he knew Deshaun won. there's a story where Deshaun would like, he played a mind game with Max Paranoia where they were on AOL Instant Messenger and
was it Max or Harold?
Max Paranoia, like the guy that looked like me. He was just like something about On the Jazz where like the guy was like, Deshaun was trying to make it look like he wasn't good at On the Jazz, and then he picked it on him anyway.
I think I heard this story.
He hovered over like a song to make it look like he was good at the song. I'm gonna let Deshaun get into that, but yeah, it didn't matter.
Can I say before we move on?
Yeah.
My favorite Deshaun moment.
Okay.
And I really, really hope you watch this video and comment. We're at Fun and Games.
Fun and Games, okay.
Extreme.
I can't guess. I'm trying to think about. I can't guess this. Okay.
So Extreme is out, right? And like I think like Xenon had just been unlocked maybe like 2 weeks or something stupid like that, and he already got like under 10 grades, something stupid at the time. Remember, he was playing Xenon a lot. And this is when the cabinet, the DDR cabinet in Fun and Games was end cap, like a racing car, like it was right in the middle of the game floor.
Okay. Yeah.
You remember that, right? And I don't know for some reason why I was sitting next to the pad behind Deshaun playing, like watching him play, but we were all there. I don't know if you were there. You might have been there. You had to be there. And Deshaun used to wear like these shoes. Like, were they Diesels or what?
They look like Clarks.
They're like Clarks. They made a really it was like the fine.
It was like an assistant.
It was assistant. Like if you play with Deshaun, you got AAA most likely something because you're gonna listen to his assistant. He slips off the pad. Like he doesn't fall, but I see his feet not touch arrows for easily a second or two. Mm-hmm. Okay. I look up. He's still playing. I'm like, okay, whatever, right? And at the very end, we played Xenon today too. At the very end, it's like the little final, like boop, 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 right?
Yeah.
He gets like 4 or 5 grades. There, I'm like, all right, cool. So he got like a couple grades. No, when the song was over, he got 4 or 5 grades. Like I think he got like 5 grades at the very end.
Yeah.
So the 5 grades that I saw was the 5 grades that he got. Meaning when he slipped off,
he still got perfects.
The gods were like, hey, we're just gonna hit these arrows for you. And like I really hope he watches this video and comments because we talk about this a lot. Like he slipped, and I was like, how the hell did you do that?
Deshaun, he was very mystical about this. Stories about Deshaun that, like, I have a story, the blackout story with Deshaun, and
he actually got it correct in the setting in the comments in a couple of videos ago because it was me, you, Jeff, and Deshaun, and I think I was actually on the pad with Deshaun.
You were on the pad with him, okay,
and Deshaun was on the left hand side,
mm-hmm.
And he went to like Paranoid Survivor or something like that.
And it was just like, yo,
and
Deshaun's gonna play it.
And the minute, like literally to the second he touched that go button, everything shut off.
I feel like I remember the.
And that's actually, if we want to segue into the relationship between me and Hispanic guy.
Hispanic guy, that was his other nickname. I couldn't remember. Okay, Sarcastic Mofo. Yeah.
Was that me and him walked from Times Square up. We walked all the way to the FDR drive, and then we walked from the FDR all the way up, and he was living in Spanish Harlem, like a 116, 110 or something like that, and I walked the rest of the way to the Bronx. And believe it or not, that's not the first time we did that. We did that on a whim like twice. And I think me and him actually really got to talking during that time, and we actually became really good friends because of that blackout.
Now you mentioned Vagrant Fiend, and I feel like Vagrant Fiend was one of 2 or 3 people kind of like Afronoia Nick, Vagrant Fiend, people who were good, and then they never made it past like 5th or 7th mix. So Jeff or Sarcastic Mofo or Hispanic guy, I couldn't remember his other nickname. He was somebody who kind of was like that, but he stuck around. So I when I bring up Jeff, I do have to say that Jeff was not a fan of 10-footers. I have to say that because Jeff was very kind of vocal about that. Although he did eventually, I remember seeing Jeff play Max 300, bro. Like I remember seeing him do good on Max 300 and maybe Survivor, but at first he was very against it. So you played with Jeff a lot, y'all. I remember there was a time period where y'all kind of did y'all DDR thing, even though
he was my guy. I think for a little bit there.
Yeah. So what was it?
What was
it like with playing with Jeff?
We always branch out and like we always we're best friends and stuff like that. But we branch out. We have time periods where we're just closer with another person at some point, right? And for me, like me and Jeff took the same train, 6 train up. He got off of Spanish Harlem, and we always had a lot of time to talk about just life.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't anything deep. It was just like making jokes and talking and stuff like that. And during that time, I got to just kind of play more game, like more his style.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember is we used to go to NYDS a lot, right? And I remember one time we were like, we should get on Aaron in Japan's AAA page.
Okay.
Right? And we were joking about it. And if you go on that page, we're there. Bag light. But we did it as a joke.
Yeah.
And we did it like on 3X just to get on the page.
Yeah. And
it took us like several tries to do it because it was just a joke to us, right? And I think from that day on, I kind of realized how Jeff was with... Jeff played because he was good. And he knew what he was good at. Mm-hmm. Okay? And he knew what he could be good at. He just didn't give a fuck at that point, in my opinion.
Okay. You knew him better than me, so that... Yeah.
Like, he had nothing to prove. He was good. At that point, at that time, he was one of the best in the city, in my opinion, from my eyes at that time. This was before your option stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was before, what I was doing, right? I think he was like, when the Sean kind of started to fade away, you had the Vagrant Fiend, the Big Matt, the Jeff. I think he was kind of on top of all those two at that point, and Stefan kind of walked away too.
I wouldn't disagree with that, yeah.
Like in that area, I seen Jeff play a lot of songs that no one likes to play and would get like under 5 grades in it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And also you have to factor in he was a tippy toe player.
Really? We all were, so I don't know if I remember specifically him being that.
We all were prior to 2003 of March when JSB changed us.
Yeah.
But after that, we were all flat-footed.
Yes.
We were at the hotel. No, actually, we were at the 7-Eleven in Albany after that tournament. And I remember sitting there like, we could never play like that guy. And you got upset at me. And I remember saying, like, there's no way we can do this. And I'm literally on the 7-Eleven with Ash, you, I think Stephanie is there. And there was like a tile there. I'm like, how does someone play with their heels? I'm literally like stomping down on it. And you got mad at me like, yo, we could do that type of deal.
Oh, wow. This is gold, man. Like,
okay, so like, he was good. He did
play on his toes, though. Now that I'm thinking about it, Jeff did play on his
toes. So factor that in at that time. That's a different timing than us.
Yeah. I don't know if he ever converted down, but he did.
I don't know, because I think at that, like, outside the NYDS days, we played for a couple months together and stuff like that. And I think he kind of branched away from Broadway City. The same thing that, Broadway City kind of canceled itself out. CF was kind of a trek, and we didn't really go there much. And then we kind of started finding our own little elements of Laser Park. So it kind of, I don't want to say he phased himself out of the community. More so the community phased him out, or it just was a mutual, like, hey, I'm just going to play to play.
Because remember, I don't know if you remember, Jeff did play in the groove.
Yeah.
He did play in the groove. And he was trying, I
God.
thought it was interesting. I don't want to get into it too much. I would love to interview Jeff. I don't know if I can get him up here, but like, I thought it was interesting. I was just like, this guy's better in the groove than me. And I have the stamina for this game. Like, my stamina is made for this. But he was playing Charlene and getting like 99.x. And I was like, man. So, he did put in his work in the groove. There are 2 things that I want to ask you about. One of them is obviously more important than the other one, but we have to talk about you and Freestyle, and we got to talk about you and Extreme. And you and Extreme is a loaded question. I want to talk about Freestyle just to make sure that we cover it.
Okay. That's fair.
We have to talk about Freestyle because
I feel like I've been done unjust in freestyle, personally.
So, okay, we can get into that. The thing about freestyle is like, I'm gonna say a controversial statement. If somebody told me that they didn't consider you a freestyler, I would almost agree with them because you were so good at perfect attack. But maybe without effort, or maybe with effort but naturally, you were a better freestyler than 99% of the people who played freestyle. So what is your take on freestyle in general, and how do you see yourself in that pathway in the community before freestyle died?
So freestyle, my first introduction to freestyle was in Broadway City. When I saw Osh, Adrian, JDS.
Adrian.
Is it Adrian? Andre?
Yeah. Okay.
Andre, right?
Got you.
Stefan, where it's kind of like more of that, Paranoid Survivor or whatever type of deal.
That
bounce, right?
Yeah.
Stefan and a lot of those guys from like JDS, I think it was called,
JDS,
do freestyle in Broadway City. And outside of like Osh and Andre and Stefan, it was like very like comical freestyle. A lot of like a lot of the back hitting thing there, what you saw on the West Coast at the time, type of deal.
Yeah,
it wasn't dancing, and I dance like I consider myself a good dancer in general. Yeah. Okay, and I felt like it was missing something. On the flip side, you have someone like Don, who is a good dancer, but he really focused on the routine, the pattern. It was almost something similar to what you and Julio did too with your routines, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I just went up there, picked the song that I was gonna do a couple weeks in advance. I'm gonna put it on light and hope for the best and just dance my ass off. That was my get up and move.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was just like, I'm gonna do get up and move. I found my brother's old army fucking fatigue, and I'm just gonna go up there and just dance at the time.
This get up and move was 2004, Jacob Javit, right?
I won in 2006.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that, but yeah.
And then 2005 was one of like my disappointing freestyles because I fucked it up. Like I messed up.
That was me and you.
That was 20th November, and I missed the off note of the dun, 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 dun. I was offbeat, and I failed the song for us, and we had a good routine.
Didn't we get second? We got second for that though. Did we get the poppin' music controller for that?
I don't have it in my house.
No, we sold it. We sold it to somebody. Me and you sold it. We split it.
You're right. We did.
Yeah,
but we should have gone first.
If we didn't fail, I think. Yeah. I don't remember.
Osh and Chris got first, right?
Did they? I don't remember who got first, but yes, you're right. That was a very good routine. Yep.
It was a good routine, and we practiced that a lot. Okay. And then Sports World for me. Sports World was the first freestyle I've ever entered.
Okay. The one
when I did sync.
Oh wow.
And I got second place.
Yeah.
Jim the Fly won that one. And I did sync, and again, I literally decided to do freestyle as I was signing up for it.
Wow. I could never do that. Like, you just picked the song and you just kind of went with it?
Just picked the song and went with it. That's why I tried to break dance. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember. Like, that is still on... I think that's on YouTube.
Yeah, so like... And that's why I feel like I never got credit. And also, I want to give an honorable shout out to Dollar Bill. I think Dollar Bill was a great freestyler. He just loved to do it. But I feel like for some reason never accepted by them or the community like freestyle, because it's like he's just going up there and fucking doing what he does best, or trying to do whatever the case may be, and he's damn near failing the song, like Jing, he would study and stuff all his songs, and he'd do great routines. Same thing with you, same things with Don and stuff like that. So I think with 2006 Jacob Javit said when I won and I did Try to Love You, I actually rehearsed some of that.
Are you so to you that was like one of the first times that you like rehearsed?
Like I was like that was almost like a proving the point type of deal.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna win that one. And I remember going back and forth with you a little bit, like because you and Julio were doing Scorching Moon, and we were kind of like jabbing at each other for a little bit type of deal. And I was like, you know what, this is gonna be like, this is it. This is my penance. I'm just gonna go in and I'm actually gonna at least learn some of the steps.
Yeah.
Just enough to not fail the song, but I'm gonna show what freestyle really is, and it's dancing. It's not gimmicks. It's not monocles. It's not canes. It's not any of that. It's not signs. It's not MC. It's dance. It's freestyle. It's dance revolution. It's something, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put what like Don set into place and kind of emphasize that a little bit more, and what you did in 2004 with Mr. T and emphasize that more. You know, I was trying to grab the next plateau and saying what I can do next and go that way. And I think winning that one, because that was one of my best routines. I wish I could find that video.
What song was that?
Try to Love You.
It
was on Supernova.
Yeah. I remember the song. I remember Scorching Moon, and me and Julio, we got second, right?
Third.
Who got second?
You were upset about that.
Who got second? It wasn't Osh, because me and Janine talk about Osh in that tournament so much. Who got second?
No, because Osh and that, you're referring to when he did the backflip.
No, I mean maybe, but
that's 2007.
So the
2006 is when he did Seduction.
Seduction was a good freestyle. The reason why I bring up Osh a lot to me and my wife talk about it, because Janine, she was not part of the DDR community. She played DDR at home, but she thought it was hilarious because this is kind of a tangent, but I don't know if you remember this. Osh doesn't watch any of these videos, but I wish he would, because what happened in 2007 was, I thought it was 2006. What happened in 2007 was this. Osh worked on his routine. Maybe it was a Seduction. I thought it was. He did a good routine. Maybe it was the leading cyber one where he did the backflip. I don't know.
That was 2007.
Okay.
Because it was a dual DDR.
So wait, I think it was 2007, right? He did the backflip. He did leading cyber, and that was a good routine. He did the backflip. He shouldn't have did the backflip. He would have won without her, but whatever, right? Bravery on Osh's part. What happened in 2007 was all of the freestylers, and you didn't enter, and we didn't enter 2007. What happened was all of the freestylers then wrote a song down on a little piece of paper and put it in a hat. And then you had to pick out the song to do it, right? So somebody wrote the song Centaur, which was like the horrible song. It was like the worst song to freestyle to. So Osh got Centaur. He picked it out, and I guess he either didn't win or didn't get first. So we're walking back from Jacob Javits, and Janine was with us. We were walking back, and Osh is just like, who the fuck wrote down Centaur? I got Centaur. Who wrote it down? You know who it was? Diego. He wrote down.
Yes, it was Diego. Oh my God, he was so upset.
He was mad at Diego.
I think he's still upset about that now.
Diego wrote down Centaur, but
that's a Captain Jack song, right?
No, I don't remember who wrote it. It was just it wasn't a good freestyle song, and Osh was really upset about it. But you did win 2006, and you did put freestyle on the map, and you did contribute a lot to freestyle, and there's nobody that can really undermine that. I don't think people in the DDR community or people who played at our time understand how good of a dancer you actually were, because DDR is very limited, and it can only emphasize dancing so much.
At that time, too, with YouTube not being out there and social media kind of still being what it was MySpace at the time.
And it meant a lot in New York City to be multifaceted. And I think a lot of the people who play DDR now, like, you can't see one of the top players doing a freestyle. It's
absolutely not.
But in New York City, that meant that held weight. Like, if you were good at perfect attack, it was cool. If you were good at perfect attack, but you had a good routine, it was more impressive, and it meant more to us to be good at perfect attack, but to be able to do K-set, or to be able to do Put Your Faith in Me, or to be able to do Paranoia Evolution. Like, it was fun. It was like wholesome. It was like well-rounded, and that meant a lot to us. And I know that a lot of these people, they just care about how many marvelouses or perfects they can get, but it made it so fun back then, you know? So I think that it's really important to emphasize that, and it's okay. Like, we're not here to dictate how the people who play DDR now should play DDR, but back then, that's what meant a lot. And no matter who you were, if you came to New York, you could AAA whatever in front of us, whether it was impressive or not. But if we stepped on the pad and did K-set, you just had to stand there and hold that shit.
Just hold that L. And K-set's still one of my favorite routines, man.
We had a good time doing that. Like, you would watch one of us play Unlimited. You would play Unlimited, get under 10 grades. You'd watch me stealth something. And by the way, I forgot to mention, you were able to stealth Unlimited.
Yeah.
You did stealth Unlimited. You stealthed.
You actually have a video of me doing it.
Yeah, you stealth Unlimited 300, and I think you stealth LOM too.
I can't remember that. I can't remember. I won't.
You did stealth Unlimited and 300, so I just want to make sure that people understand that. But you could watch Angel stealth Unlimited, get under 10 greats on 300. Back when it was impressive, you could watch me stealth PSMO, get under 10 greats on 300, and then watch both of us play K-set, and just be like, God, like, what am I supposed to do about it? Man, it was good times. But you were a factor when it came to freestyle in New York City. Now, this is like a loaded conversation, but Extreme comes out. You know, Extreme was the mix to be playing DDR. And from what I hear, like, a lot of people to this day, this is like a running joke in their community, where like they still talk about like people being good back then, being into Extreme. What was Extreme like for you, and like what was that journey like?
Long. You have to factor in how long we had Extreme at our disposal and what we did with it from beginning to end. Okay, when Extreme came out and the songs that came out with it, a lot of people in the community were like, no one's ever gonna pass that. Right? No one's ever gonna do that song correctly or get under this or whatever the case may be, to the point where we finished, not even finished, because Extreme was still out for like some change before like we officially retired. And the things we were doing, Extreme felt long, and I think it was warranted at that point. I think Extreme was the mix for us. It was the perfect platform to finally be where we're at. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, things have a way of kind of working themselves out, right? And I think Extreme allowed that productivity for us to branch and move the community into a different spectrum. I think it also allowed you to take something that was given in a mix prior as a benefit and use it as a con in terms of options, right? Because a lot of people use 1.5, 2 to just kind of do the songs, and you're like, well, if you're gonna use it, use the options correctly. I think Extreme also humbled a lot of people. It also gave way to a lot of different characters in the community. Okay, Extreme gave a wider range of songs and tempos and speed and Oni courses and just what have you nots. Extreme was all. It was Extreme. I hate to say it. It was all over the place.
Literally, yeah.
And while we did get to a point where we're kind of over Extreme and the way Konami was handling things, obviously that's the tail end of everything. But the beginning of Extreme was very beautiful, because for me, most of the beginning of Extreme started in Laser Park.
Okay. Oh wow. Yeah, they did get Extreme kind of early. They did. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, with the Laser Park crew, which was a whole different crew of people. We had Justin, G, Brian, Gordon, good guys and stuff like that. Who they were their own little like center of. They had some decent players. Justin was a good player.
He was, yeah.
Brian was a great player as well. Like sizable competition. Like, you know, don't take them lightly. They might pick a decent 9-footer on you and be like, all right, as long as you don't pick a 10-footer, which was always the common thing for us. Don't pick a 10-footer, I'll beat you, and then you don't. Extreme really kind of brought us to where we needed to be. Yeah. I gave you the solace that you actually really wanted from Fifth Mix, in my opinion. And because of that, I think you were able to sit on top of the community and kind of see what was missing. And you were going to lose either way, right? You were either going to do what you did and be glorified, or do what you did and not be, which is what ended up happening, right? No one cared about options. No one cared about anything, but you did it anyway. Okay. And you inadvertently took a whole entire team behind you of the AdamSTFs. No one gives credit to Adam, in my opinion. Adam came from literally a kid from Bruckner, and he's older than me. I'm calling him a kid. Yeah. But someone who barely really played, and within 6 months time was like keeping up with Ash on 10-footers, and like he beat me in the groove. And I want to get into that tournament, because that's a good tournament on the break.
I don't want to talk about that, but
we'll talk about that. Anyway. We're going to talk about it. But anyway, so you set the standard so high, you didn't even realize that you were every plateau that you got to, we were still trying to catch up, and the community was down here, and then you plateaued. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta fucking get up here.
Nah, hold on. You're skipping a little bit, because you're talking about you're talking. I gotta bring this up because this actually kind of went viral in the community, the DDR community, not New York City. You're talking about trying to catch up to me, but there was a little bit of a rivalry between a couple people. There was a rivalry. There was a thing. It wasn't serious, but there was a thing between us, and I say us as in New York City proper and Staten Island.
So you want to talk about me and Chris Fire? Okay, let's get into that.
Yeah, I want to see Chris Fire do that.
I want to talk about that.
Okay.
So the thing with at that time is, I'm being honest, I knew at that point I'm not gonna catch up to you. So I needed to make things fun, and I needed to pick somebody that I think was close enough to my skill level. Yeah. And I purposely sought him out. It was either gonna be him or Dino, but
he had a little bit of a slight edge over Dino.
He had a little bit, so I wanted the best of another Burrow. Yeah. Okay, in my opinion, and he was good for he came out of nowhere. He was really good. I personally still think I was way better than him in any tournament or in any form, but I just sucked at tournaments, right? He wasn't doing options and stuff like that, but he was actually a really remarkable player. Yeah. He caught on really fast, and again, I think he caught on fast because of what he was hearing out there, what you were doing, what we were doing. So again, you're saying we're skipping forward. We're really not. It's not. This is not linear. This is all back and forth. The effect that you did on the community, just because you didn't see it. Where do you think these guys came out of? Where do you think the Dinos and the Lewises and the Maurices came out of? Where do you think the whoever played out of NYDS and Long Island came out of? You never played with them, but the things that you were putting up there inadvertently made people want to work harder. And you never saw that because you were in your bubble with us, and this is great. The only competition in your heart was either me or anyone that came out of state. But I wasn't really a competition, because I'm going to either falter over tournaments, or you knew my weaknesses or I knew your weaknesses. So your biggest adversaries would be people that you don't know what scores they're putting up. But you inadvertently forced Dino's hand, Chris Fire's hand, Lewis's hand, Big Matt's hand. You saw a little bit reflex. I can't believe I haven't mentioned reflex. out of all these people.
Y'all were cool. Like you. Knew,
I love Reflex.
Y'all used to go up there a little bit more than me.
Yeah, I love Reflex. You were just putting stuff up, and you didn't even realize people like bet. Now, they weren't doing what you were doing in terms of like options, but you were giving them that little like, come on, like let's see you catch up. So I needed something because I knew competition with you wasn't just not gonna happen. It wasn't that I couldn't beat you. You just weren't what I wanted. I guess that can make sense, right? Like, I would be happy if you won a tournament, and honestly, if I won a tournament over you, it wouldn't give me anything. Like, we always work together on our weaknesses.
We did, yeah.
We always work together on our strengths. We always work together on things that we wanted to just try and mess around with. So it wasn't like it wasn't needed. Yeah. In my opinion, right? It was more such an amicable friendship just outside of DDR, within DDR at the same time, that I didn't need it. So I purposely picked out Fire out of Staten Island off of that one South Beach tournament that I saw him play in. And he actually did really well in that one. I don't remember how far he went in it, but I was like, this kid is good. He was doing a couple 10-footers, and he started posting up scores. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get in that ass. I need something. I'm bored. Yeah. Like, I'm bored right now type of deal, you know? And again, it was either him or Dino. And speaking of Dino John, I speak with him on now. He guy's jacked. He does, like fitness things and stuff like that. He's always been a great dude and stuff. But yeah, I really wanted something. I needed an edge. I was bored, at that point. But we're talking about like when I was getting like under 10 on Unlimited. I was kind of like already, while I didn't have the tournament track record, because tournaments for me were fun, like they were just whatever. I didn't care about most of it. I just needed something to kind of keep me going, in my opinion,
And that I don't know why. I don't know why, and I think that part of it is like that troll mentality that the community have. But for some reason, that saying spread like wildfire. Like,
I want to see Chris Fire do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it, because it's like, I didn't even do that good in that score. If you really look at that video, it was like all right, like it was like actually like mediocre, right? Like I fucked up the runs at the end. Like I probably had like all of like 4 greats between the beginning of the song to like the stream, and then to the freeze, and then like after that, like the runs just killed me. And for some reason, I felt like the gall to just say, hey, I want to see Chris Fire do that. And the wildfire that like spread through it, and it wasn't even my intention, but I actually loved it. I warranted that. I was like, I want that. Like, all right, let's go. Let's add a rivalry, because this guy had, he had so many people after him at that point, and it wasn't so much that like I was after him. Like, no one knew. Like, it wasn't a thing, but like he had the Max Paranoias of the world. He had the what was the other guy's name? Goblin.
Big Gay Goblin.
Big Gay Goblin. White Silence was the tall guy.
He was Ben, and then Big Gay Goblin was Tim.
Right. You had the Technics. You had the Reflexes. And then you had people inside our own community. You had the Pickles of the world coming out. You had people from every facet of the DDR community trying to come out and prove a point. Okay.
You and Chris Fire, that I want to see Chris Fire do that. For some reason, that I don't know why people found that funny, but like a lot of people who knew nothing about our story and the New York City story just found that funny. I just wanted you to explain it, because I don't remember specifically what it was. I don't remember going to South Beach Arcade, me and you, like we would link up. We would go to South Beach Arcade for a tournament or to go play.
But we were never like...
Nah, it was no bad blood at all. Like you and Chris were cool,
It's funny, because... I mean, when did you post that video up? I mean, it was early.
Yeah.
Early on. I don't know if it was the cadence in which I said it that made it funny for the community, or what, or you just had some internet trolls kind of just taking it out of light and trying to add a little kerosene to the fire, no pun intended. But that's why I said no pun intended. I don't know. I mean, we did a lot of videos at that time, right? Yeah. And we were what, 18, 19, 17, 18, 19, or whatever at the time, doing those videos. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I was having a lot of fun with it, you know.
That's how you were though back then too.
I'm a little bit like that now, but like, I think when you're just on top of the world that you kind of live in, you kind of want to just be like, you know, I'm here. Like, like what you gonna do about it? Like, you doing a good job or something like that?
No, but you know, that's how New York City was, and that's a way that's kind of how we were built. And I may or may not want to talk about that, but I do want to bring up that FYE tournament, the Legend Road joint. But I do want to bring up the FYE tournament that me and you were in. I mean, you spoke earlier about this. You said that this was one of the more significant tournaments for you. So
when it came to tournament play, and I think there's a couple people out there that could probably sympathize with this. Either you get nerves or you just don't care that much. Maybe it's just a fun afternoon. You don't really want to win money, whatever the case may be. I think it was a combination of both for me. I always took tournaments as, you know, just a fun afternoon. I never went into tournaments thinking I was going to win, right? That's nothing to say on my skill level. There's nothing to say on who's going to enter at that time. You know, if Anthony was going to enter something or whatever the case may be, I'm like, it is what it is. I'll play them what I know I could play them in and go from there. But also, I think for me, we talking about FYE. The FYE tournament was fun. And I want to emphasize that word real quick. Fun. Tournaments are not fun for me in general. It may be different for you, but they're not fun. The FYE tournament was fun, and here's why. It was a tournament on Long Island that was predominantly our circle. Okay. We had a couple great players from Long Island, in my opinion, that could have easily beat us over something stupid that we probably didn't even play. You know, like they could have picked something stupid, right? But it was a fun tournament in terms of, I'm just going to go out there and have a good time with my friends. And no matter what, I have to stay here at the end of it all because we all drove out here together.
Yeah, I don't remember. Probably Adam drove us out there, but yeah.
Right. So either way, I'm going to have fun. Versus if I'm having a shitty time at NYDS in this tournament, I'm going to fucking take the 7 train and go back home, right? Yeah, I'm like, I'm out. This is over for the birds, right? Type of deal. So there's 2 tournaments in my entire life of like DDR that I felt that fun. I felt that confidence. I felt that it's going to be okay. I'm good enough, or whatever the case may be, whatever. Which was the FYE tournament, and then the ITG tournament at 8 Hour Break, which was the first one, which we could dive into later on. But the FYE tournament in Long Island, this is like early 2004. Was it before the first Jacobs?
Yes, absolutely.
Way before, right? Yeah. So it's like slightly, like that happened in what, October, September?
The Jacob Javits was October, like around October, yeah.
So this is early 2004. You entered, I entered. I think AdamSTF, who hasn't gotten a lot of credit so far for being one of the fastest learners, and not only being one of the fastest learners, but being like top tier in the city fastest learner. Like he can go up with anybody. You had your people from Long Island. You had Gabe, and who else?
I don't remember the other guy. They had a few people.
They had a few good people, like legitimate people that can actually like bring a little pain. Did I mention Osh already? and stuff like that. So this tournament along in FYE was there's a lot to be said about it, and I don't know if I can really symbolize how much it truly meant to me. But this tournament was pivotal on a lot of YouTube videos that you see out there. You see one of the first Legend Road no bar videos ever out there at that point, okay, which I failed in PSMO on the first runs, but he completed it. You also see, you see us doing some really good, like unbelievable stuff early on. I played Max Unlimited against AdamSTF at the time. I get 12 grades on it, which is like a great score on it. But for me, I think is you qualified first, I qualified second. We played everyone. We split up the bracket. Yeah. And it was and I'm glad we did that. And we ended up so I don't know if you know what tournament bracket play is, right? So you go first, second, and then if you qualify third, you qualify fourth, and it just the trickle down effect keeps going all the way to the middle, right? So you qualify first, qualify second, and then you just kind of if you keep winning your matches, you kind of just go in, whatever the case may be. So I get to the finals. I think I beat Gabe in the semifinals to play you in the finals of the winners bracket. So Gabe, who was their best Long Island player, I beat him. He went to the losers bracket. He had to wait it out. So I played him. So I played him in the winners bracket. He beat me. And I had to go back to the losers bracket, L2 or L3, whatever the bracket gets set up. I had to play Gabe, who, I beat earlier on, like 45 minutes ago. So he actually gave me a really tough match. Now that I think about it, he gave me a run for my money. He picked the Sorrow song, which I think was L'Amour, which was one of the weakest songs that you could have picked on me. I'm gonna be trash on L'Amour. And I think I picked LOM on him. And I got the one up on him. And now that I think about it, if I had to guess, out of all songs that came up, I think Sweet Sweet Magic was the third random song.
That song, that song was a little bit
rough, but Cakewalk to me, and it kind of gave him I think he actually did a pretty respectable score. I think he got less than 18 or something stupid, or 19 or 20 or something. I got 14 or 12 or something. But anyway, I ended up winning the match, and I had to go back and play this guy. Okay, and I really truly wish I could remember what we picked on one another. In that one, I want to honestly say I think you picked Reign of Sorrow on me. Either it wasn't on the last match or the first match, but I think you picked that song at some point on me.
I can see that, yeah.
But he beat me, regardless. So outside of him, who probably had a 20-minute gap, in break between the losers bracket and stuff like that, there was no break. So I played nonstop, and then he had a short gap, and then they won. I was like, hey, he beat you, whatever the case may be. It was a slugfest. You guys want to do Legend Road, no bar, which is the video is up, and I'm like, yeah, I looked at you, and we're like.
And something that I don't want to derail us, and I don't really know I'm over here looking at the time, and it's okay to me because I'm gonna split this video up as much as we need to, but I don't think that I could do this interview with you without emphasizing that winter of 2003 into 2004 with Andre and Warch Technique, White Rice and Gatorade, and why Legend Road, why we were able to do FYE Legend Road. It wasn't just we did Legend Road. There was a precedent of that whole winter.
So why don't we talk about it?
We're gonna talk about it. But I want you to finish this. So we did Legend Road, which was a fucking Bible's worth of history between when we started White Rice and Gatorade at Broadway City on that platform that's now a Dallas BBQ up until FYE. But we did Legend Road, right? We did it.
Are we recording still?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you want me to lead off?
Yeah, so talk about Legend Road FYE from your perspective.
Okay. So my perspective. So when we get to that Legend Road video, you messed my head up a little bit. We'll edit it. All right. When we get to the Legend Road, we're exhausted at this point. We're just tired. So we get asked by, I can't remember who exactly asked, but it's like, you guys want to do Legend Road, whatever the case may be. I think at this point, a couple of people already passed Legend Road, but they passed it with the bar. Okay. Yeah. And if you don't know what Legend Road is, if you're new to the community, I'm not going to explain it to you, but it's the top 5-10 footers at that time, which was hard songs. Okay. But most people watching this will know what it is. Okay. So we're talking early 2004. I'm talking about as early as, I want to go May early.
In the Northeast, we probably had our jackets at the time.
Jackets. So before May, right? So we did the video, like we did the Legend Road video, and I didn't know it was gonna be, what it turned out to be, right? Especially after the CSA JSB Iron Road, Iron Man, yeah. Right, he was part of, and JSB. I really wish we could do a whole other video on JSB, because that was just such that was such a just pivotal transformation in our playing style, and we don't give him enough credit. But it wasn't done before on video. Okay, and if you did say that you did do this or whatever the case may be, no one believed you, right? To do that course at that time, no bar was difficult enough. But then coming off of a slugfest of a tournament, right? You're using more of your body language than you really think that you're using. You're using more of your mental stamina than you think you're doing. And then you gotta be like, hey, play these 5 songs. You only have 4 bars. And you can't use the thing behind you that's gonna keep you balanced, and you have no water.
Bro, if you look at those videos, we were tired.
We're sweatbox.
Fucking tired.
Sweatbox, right? Videos. So if you look at that at that time in 2004, I honestly don't think that, and I give a lot of respect to the DDR players now, in my opinion, like, Chris Strike and Chris Strike. I don't know who else. Spencer, is he still good?
I don't really follow the community, but I will tell you that this is kind of a non sequitur, but I was watching DDR videos recently, and I came across the channel, and the channel's name was called No Bar Ben, and I didn't even watch the video. I just subscribed. It said No Bar Ben. I was subscribed. And this guy plays 19, 18, 19, no bar, AAA, PFC.
So he's the best.
Not according to them, because he doesn't have the highest score.
So, all right.
But he. Oh, I'm fucking the video up.
Don't edit this out.
No.
You need to put No Bar Ben in here, because you need to put a link. Hold on, put a link. Edit a link right here to No Bar Ben, because if you're doing all this. I'm not even gonna say it.
I said I was just looking at stuff. I was looking at stuff. No Bar Ben. Oh, No Bar Ben. That's all I needed to hear. But he's really good. Like, he is really good. No bar. That's his whole thing. He plays no bar. So yeah, like, there are people who do that, but not very many of them do that, apparently.
Like, listen, I've used the bar several occasions.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
But like, here's the reason why. If like we're about to get into like the quarterfinals or the semifinals, right? And like, I'm playing him, and he's like, all right, stomping like he does and shit like that. I'm like, I bet you want to be a bitch. I'm gonna use the bar too and be a bitch with you, right? Because at least I could beat you in your own game. That was the thought process.
Say about Spencer. We should talk about Spencer for like just a couple of minutes. Spencer is part of that community, but Spencer has always shown an immense amount of respect to both of us.
I love Spencer to death. I love Spencer to death.
Spencer plays.
I actually hung out with Spencer at a bar, like twice.
Yeah,
had a good time.
Spencer plays with speed, plays with the bar. Spencer, from my understanding, is was probably arguably the best in New York.
I actually think he was. I think he actually took over. So like whenever we came like down from like what we were doing, the person that took over that beginning back to like normal was Spencer. He took that. He ran that flag. He
always showed an immense amount of respect to us. Whether he agreed with us or not is a different story, but he really held it down, and I always appreciated that.
You know, I played Spencer in the 2006 tournament, and I didn't even want to enter that. I entered Freestyle. That's the year that I won, and I entered Tech because I was bored. Okay. So I had like $10 to spare or whatever the case may be, and the first person I played was Spencer, and at that time, and Spencer was this tiny little like short. His mom was there too and everything. He's like, don't pick a hard song on me type of deal. You know, like I can't remember. I think we played like number 13 or something stupid like that. You know, but like I knew he had like a lot of heart, and I love that kid. Like he's a good dude. He's awesome. 100%. Him and Steve and all those people. They've always shown so much respect. I remember when I was working at the Times Square location, he would come through, and I would always be like, you know, he would be like, hey, I'm trying to qualify for this thing. I'm like, all right, let me give you a couple credits. You know, like type of deal. But he only took what he saw was in his generation and went with it. So I can't knock him for that.
One of the last things I want to talk about is options. And I think with options, you were up there with me and Reflex and Dino and Chris Fire. And you pushed options forward along with us. I didn't feel like you were one of those AAA people. I didn't feel like you were playing shit over and over and over the AAA stuff. So I never got that vibe from you. What was it about you and options that stuck? And if you don't say something, I will bring it up, but I just want to see, I want you to talk about it first. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. What was it about options that made you feel like that was the future, and what was your identity with DDR Options and Extreme?
Now I'm a little curious because you're saying that, you know, you bring something up.
I just want to make sure you mention something, because there was one thing that you were a monster at in Options.
Yeah, hidden shuffle flat.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And I don't think people understand really why.
But here, people don't understand the reason why I was that. And I'm jumping on top of that. So when it came down to speed options, and we're gonna double down on Andre Jinx. Mm-hmm. You two were doing things like that was like a little, in my opinion, was a little far-fetched. And like to me, I was like, yo, like these guys are crazy right now. Like they're trying to do like Afronova on like 5x boost, like they're shuffle flat, like they're doing stuff.
Afronova 5x boost shuffle. Yes, we did play that.
Yeah. And I'm looking at you guys doing things. And I'm like, I said to myself, I remember saying to myself, I was like, I don't think I could keep up with them. As a matter of fact, I know I couldn't keep up with you guys. I knew my sight read wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. And that's why I went to the adverse. And I was like, all right, you guys, you want to speed stuff up?
I'm gonna tell you something.
He's getting his hat. He's gonna get relaxed. He's gonna get his hat. Look.
I don't necessarily like. I don't like the disrespect in terms of like you were trying to challenge me like that.
Like challenge like what?
Like by picking electro tune on like hidden shuffle flat.
But at the end of the day, like you were out here trying to be like yo like you want to pick speed? I bet.
No, but like what? You thought you could beat me in electro tune on hidden shuffle flat?
I knew I did. I did that.
I didn't really like that, but it got me hyped. I'm not gonna front. It got me hyped.
But that's good because
you were better. You look. You were better than me in Unlimited, and you were better than me in electro tune on Hidden Shuffle Flat.
I was better than you on almost every song in Hidden Shuffle Flat.
Okay, you were, but
But here's the thing.
I'm gonna hold that.
But here's the thing. There was no one else in the community doing that because, again, we were so bored, and you have to edit this out for like another video. We were bored with what was going on that we went to the option store. We haven't even spoke about edits yet. And I'm gonna double down back on Jim and Seventh Mix and Hidden Shuffle Flat with Drifting Away. That was the catalyst that Phataxel didn't even know he needed when he went along with Andre and was like, oh, I'm gonna boost this song that's like 265 BPMs. I'm like, bet you wanna do that? I'm gonna put this song that's like 265 or 50 BPMs. I'm gonna put it on hidden, and I'm gonna make sure the backdrop disappears completely before the hidden feature even shows up. I'm gonna flatten that out for you. I might reverse it every now and then.
Oh yeah,
and
that
let's
was nasty.
let's see what you do with that.
Yeah.
And that was something that I can honestly say that if I was alone in the arcade, every now and then, I would look around and I'm like, you know what? Let me test something out. Let me test out my Summer Love, you know, right? Let me test that out. Let me test out Orion. You know, let me test out Bag, and honestly, quite honestly, I couldn't do Bag.
1.5 though. Me, you, and Chris Fire.
Yeah,
I remember
1.5. I could do 1.5.
Me,
but
you, Chris Fire, and Matt used to do Bag 1.5 Hidden Shuffle.
But like, let me talk about slow songs, or let me talk about songs that make no sense at all. That if you don't get the stream correctly, like Ska Go Go on Trick. Where if you don't get the yeah, I would do stupid things like that. Like I purposely found songs that were either offbeat or something weird on Hidden Shuffle Flat. And the irony of that is that, for example, if I picked a sorrow song like Tears, which I could do great in now, back then I couldn't. If I did a sorrow song on Hidden Shuffle Flat, once I got it good, when I went back to regular, I was getting under 5 grades on it.
And which, yeah.
So I purposely made it a point to learn that for just in case someone want to act, disrespectful.
Yeah.
But it actually made me a lot better, just like your speed options made you a lot better, right? But it made me a lot better, but it still just wasn't enough for me to.
You know that hidden shuffle flat stuff. You know, Janine has like this like when she bakes, she has like a KitchenAid mixer. Like when she wants to like make a cake or like some macarons, she puts a bunch of shit and just scrambles that shit. That's what it used to do to those AAA players. When me or you would pick hidden shuffle, it's like, you know when you see somebody play DDR for the first time and they don't know what the fuck they're doing and they fail?
They got the claw. They got the arm claw.
Bro, I used to see you pick hidden shuffle flat on these people, and it's like they failed like in 10 seconds, just failed. They didn't know what was going on. It was like they didn't even play DDR before. And
that's something that you try to really emphasize in your last couple of videos. Listen, and if you are given a template to do something, right? Options. And you're only using 10% of that template, which is speed and then, solo, whatever. And you're ignoring the rest. What are you really doing to yourself moving forward? Why aren't you using every facet of that template to make yourself better? That's what you do with your careers. That's what you do with art. That's what you do with dance. That's what you do with everything. We use the options to our advantage at that point because by that time, that's late 2004-ish. After the first Jacob Javits, right? 2005, before you won the second Jacob Javits. That was around that time where there was a lot of miscellaneous tournaments and stuff like that, and people were putting up like, all right, cool, I'm doing 3x this. People were like, I'm doing 3x this shuffle on the Xenon, stuff like that, blah blah blah. I'm like, cool, JSB did that like 2 years ago, so what you got going on, type of deal. that's what we're really kind of like trying to focus on.
So the origins of that, and the origins a lot of that, and these I want to touch on that. I want to touch on what I'm about to ask you, and I want to touch on In the Groove, because I feel like you were more involved in the Groove than I was.
In the Groove 1.
Fair. I feel like you and Adam will go to fun and games to play In the Groove a lot. But anyway.
First In the Groove.
There are two things I want to touch on. So, this video, when I edit it, it's probably going to be broken up into parts at this point. Me and Angel have a lot more history than I may have realized. So this may be part 2 or part 3. But I do, in this, to wrap up the interview, I do want to talk about your legacy. So, because I think it's really important for people to understand who you were in DDR, and like during this time, you were like a big deal, and part of that, this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's also related. Part of that is In the Groove. You did play In the Groove. So I just want you to talk about that a little bit. Like, what was In the Groove to you? What do you remember doing in the Groove? And like, I know you didn't continue to play, but like, what was it like playing In the Groove for you during this time? And did you, sorry to cut you off, but did you play both In the Groove and In the Groove too?
Yes, but with In the Groove, when it came out, we had Extreme for so long at that point that anything new was just appreciated at that point. I think by this time, and how long did we have Extreme? 5 years.
It came out in 2002, and Supernova came out in 2006. So about 4 years.
The Supernova was just not a great mix, in my opinion. It just didn't have the same feel as the predecessors had beforehand. I don't know if it was song selection, just the cabinet itself, or the font of the arrows. It just didn't. It was also really out of sync in the very beginning. It's like, why would you mass produce this new cabinet, new mix to a community that's been wanting something for so long, and not do your due diligence and make sure that everything works the way it's supposed to work. I just didn't like the patch of it all, and then there's a new cabinet mix with a patch, and it's just like it just became really redundant at that time for me. I'm just like, I was already kind of waning away from the community by the time Supernova came out. I think In the Groove came out prior to that. And it was interesting because at that point there was another group of people trying to make another dance game. I think Dom, what was the name of it?
I was part of that. I was part of that. Oh man, I was part of that group. It was me, Don, and Deshaun, and a few other people, and I can't remember the name of it. But yeah,
which was something we were looking forward to. And I remember when In the Groove first came out, I was like, "Is this it?" type of deal. Not like this is it, but like, did someone kind of bite off their idea? Because for me, In the Groove kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't hear much about it, and then I know you spoke about this with the people from Seattle coming out. And they were kind of like the pioneers because it was like one of the first cabinets up there. So, but to kind of really double down on In the Groove, for me, it was a fun mix with a lot of fun songs. And at that point, I really didn't care much about the 1X no bar. I was kind of like really just over at that point. I'm like, I'm just gonna play to have fun. And like surprisingly, I really found the timing in it in the Groove 1 for me to be really like well received in my brain. Like it kind of mixed really, really well for me. Songs that were like difficult, Pandemonium and stuff like that. I kind of found like, it's hard, don't get me wrong, but like I think we were kind of training ourselves for the last couple of years doing stupid things on DDR for In the Groove, so I think it kind of felt really natural for me. In the Groove 2 was fun. I actually didn't like the dedicated cabinet. I felt like it was a little bigger, more of a pump it up feel to it. I guess because it was by Endemiro. The cabinet felt wider, the bar was wider. So I don't know if that added some mental like roadblock for us at the time.
It did for me.
And In the Groove 2 had some great songs. Ironically enough, I actually entered just one In the Groove tournament, and we can touch base on that now or later.
Yeah.
Which was in 8 on the Break. And were you there on that one?
I wasn't there for. I don't think I was there for any In the Groove tournament. I don't think so. I just remember you and Adam playing In the Groove a lot.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know if I don't know why we were playing so much. I don't remember where in the city there were In the Groove cabinets that were easily accessible for me and Adam particularly to play as much as we did. And there was a really good point in time that I was like, yo, I could probably be really, really, really good at this game, like more so than a lot of people. Like I can probably, like DDR was just kind of like, you know, my freshman, sophomore years and junior years, and like I'm a senior now. Like I thought of it like, yo, I could really do something. And I honestly don't remember why. I think I was just done overall with like the dancing games, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. But there was a short period of time there where I'm like, I don't think anyone, if I dedicate myself the way I really did back then, but I would have to put in the hard work, meaning I wouldn't just go off of your coattails. Like, oh, Anthony's doing something, I got to try and do that, right? Because it was so easy for him to think of the idea and me to try to replicate it. Instead, now I just had to put in more work as to, did I care this much to be that good in this game moving forward? But there was an 8 on the Break tournament, very random tournament. And I think the person that was supposed to win that tournament was Antonio WBR, who was a really, really great DDR player. Old school legacy guy from 8 on the Break and Champions of the Coast. Super chill, super cool dude. He was slated to win that tournament. And I got a chance to play him. And I remember I played him. Adam and I entered it. And we entered it like I think we could win, but we don't know what these guys have been working on. Like we don't know what they're playing. We also didn't know any secret songs because it was still so relatively fresh for everybody and everything was kind of almost like the same. I think like something like Vertex was like something stupid, but it was a lot of stamina draining songs, which we had stamina, but it was also a lot of timing, and we were putting 2 and 2 together for so long that I think that's why we gravitated so quickly to In the Groove. But outside of like the match I had with Adam in the finals, like the 2 matches, which was really funny. I didn't even win that tournament. Adam won that one. But I played Antonio WBR, I think in the, I want to say in the finals or the semifinals of the winners bracket. Because I had beaten AdamSTF or he beaten AdamSTF and sent Adam to the losers bracket. And yeah, it was me and Antonio WBR in the finals. And I remember I picked Anubis because I know he couldn't do like those jackhammers and stuff like that. Yep. That's the only thing I remember about that match, in my opinion, because you were the one that told me that. And that's why I feel like either you were there or I don't see myself calling you like, yo, I'm about to play him. But
that might have just been common knowledge. It was him and Jeff. Him and Sarcastic Mofo, or you reminded me his other nickname was Hispanic guy. They couldn't do that. Like some people periodically have problems with that. I had problems with that as well. But him and Jeff I don't think that they got over that hump quick enough, and you might have known that. And Anubis was like, I think it had like 24th or 32nd notes.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I remember him playing Antonio WBR. His back would be straight. He just used to sink when he would get to that part. His body would just go down. He couldn't do it.
So I ended up beating him. And I essentially won the winners bracket. So I'm like, yo, all right, this is free for me. The only really other persons I got to worry about is still Adam and it's still Antonio WBR because they were still really good. I remember I had a pretty sizable break because the brackets were really just like kind of weird of the scheduling. They were doing things, so it was one machine. So I think I had like an hour and a half to cool down. And it really kind of like messed me up a lot. And Adam, and I really didn't think Adam was going to beat Antonio, but Adam beat Antonio. I think he did the same song on him or something like that because he saw me play him. Finally, we got to the match with one another, and I really like downplayed Adam in my mind. Adam went into this match a little bit more serious than I did. All right. And honestly, I really don't remember the songs we played. I think I was trying to beat him on like Pandemonium, which to me was probably one of my best of the songs. Yeah. And it wasn't that I was really good at it. It was just a really hard song that a lot of people just couldn't keep up with at the time. Yeah. And he beat me. That I remember. He beat me. When he beat me on that song, I was like, all right, shit. Like, I gotta take this seriously. And I didn't realize how like intuitive he was with the game at the time. And I'm like, yo, like I'm gonna lose to this guy. Like, this guy we developed him, you know, we trained him. He's a product of us. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, I was upset that I lost, but I really wasn't, because I lost to Adam. Like, if I was to lose to anyone in a tournament like that, like, it would have to be Adam, it would have to be you, like, it would be someone within the inner circle. I'm like, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, that was the only tournament I ever entered for In the Groove. And I think shortly after that, In the Groove 2 came out. And by that point, it was just kind of moot for me. I was just like done with the game. I was actually done a long time ago. I just kind of kept playing because you were playing. And once you won 2005 Digital Life, that was it. Like, I was like, all right, it was it. Like, we had our time, you know, like, and especially after I've been watching a lot of videos that I don't remember. I didn't remember the way I played back then. I didn't remember how early on we were doing edits. You know, for me it was always like late 2004, 2005, but it was quite honestly late 03, 04 that we were really doing like really stupid stuff, you know. And some of those videos, my gameplay was so weird the way I played versus now, but the scores I was still getting, I was actually really surprised that I was doing that, you know. Yep. I watch your videos and you're talking about how good I was. I even questioned you on it. I'm like, you don't remember it the way I did. And quite honestly, I don't remember it the way he did. I never thought that I was like that above the game. You know, I always, like, I knew I was close to him, but I always felt like everyone else was better than me. The Big Mats, the Jeffs, the Chris Fires and stuff like that. And who knows? I mean, we were all on the same page. I don't know, you know, tournaments don't really justify who's good or not, in my opinion. And even regardless of that, I just wasn't ever good in tournaments. It wasn't my thing. So it was just really interesting to see those videos firsthand. Finally.
For just as a side note, what's funny is it's not like it's like hilarious, but it's just I think for me with tournaments, I never felt like I was nervous, but I had to have been nervous because my gas, like my stomach, would act up. And I remember being at this tournament in Fun Station in Staten Island, and this was still like, you know, Xenon was like one of the last songs before the 10-footers that everybody got good at. And me and you were on the pad, and like I just farted and picked Xenon, and like the fart was enough to throw you off. I don't even know if you were good at Xenon at that time or not.
I don't even think I was, but to be honest with you.
But like I used to just make these rancid ass farts when I would get on the pad with you and Ash. I would tell y'all, but I would play it off. It was somebody I don't know, somebody farted. But like I don't know, maybe that was my way of dealing with the nerves. I never felt nervous mentally. But I do remember picking Xenon on you, but farting before time.
Do you remember the first time we ever went to Fun Station?
When it was snowing?
When it was snowing and the bus left. But do you remember the first person we met in Fun Station? I knew you would, because you never brought it up in your thing. So we get to Fun Station Staten Island. It was the first time we ever been there, and there was like 2 or 3 DDR players. One of them was called Fruity Loops.
That name sounds familiar. Wow.
And we used to have this thing where we would go to arcades that didn't know who we were and kind of like pretend we didn't know what to do. And then it was very arrogant that we did that. Very like now that I look back at it, it's like, all right. And we were like do the first song on like basic, holding onto the bar and like being stupid, and then just like max 300, you know, like stupid. And I remember you were playing along with this kid, Fruity Loops or Fruit Loops, like so so what's the hardest song in the game? And he was like really hyped to explain it to him.
Oh man.
And I'm sitting like I'm on the pad next to him, and he's like, you're really kind of like pushing it. And he was like really excited to explain like how like PSMO was. And he was like, it's this crazy turns and they do this at this speed, and you're like, wow, has anyone ever beaten that before? Meanwhile, you're already double Aing at this point. And I'm like, ugh. And then you pick it. And I'm like, you know, I look back at it now, you know, it's, you know, we're closer to 40. We 2 kids each, you know, mortgages, house, real life stuff. And I'm like, it didn't need to be that way. Yeah. Like, we didn't need to do stupid troll and stuff like that. You know, like, think about it. Like, well, think if someone did that to your kids. Like, you want to hit them, you know?
We had a good time. That was fun times. But yeah, like there are things that we could have done differently.
A lot of things, yeah.
That's, man. I remember that name. I can't remember what that kid looks like, but I do remember.
He was like
name.
a redhead with glasses, very skinny.
Yeah.
He was a cool dude.
Oh man. All right. Well, that kind of leads me into my next question. Speaking of tournaments, like there was the Jacob Javits tournament, and there was basically the both of us participated heavily in 2004, 2005, and 2006. Now, from my perspective, in 2004, the thing that I remember about you was you played Pickles. In 2005, I remember we entered and played 20th of November, the Freestyle.
Yeah, I don't remember tech so much about that one on my part.
Yeah. And in 2006, that's the one that you won.
Yeah, I won the Freestyle, and I entered tech as more of like I was bored.
Yeah.
Like, because I was strictly going in there for just Freestyle, in my opinion. And tech was like I would walk around like the convention. It was like our first Comic-Con back in the day, like, you know, those early onsets of those type of conventions. And in 2004, I didn't know what I was walking into. I don't think any one of us knew.
No, we didn't.
This massive tournament in Jacob Javits Center. You know, you hear Jacob Javits Center, you always think of car shows and stuff like that. And you drive by it or walk by it, you know, like, oh, this big glass convention center, but you never think about being inside. And then we hear about this tournament, and you know, I'm excited, but I'm nervous. I'm super nervous. And I get a phone call from Anthony. I think I just got out the train. You had to take the 7 train or something like that, and then walk, or the closest train line was like 8th Avenue or something like that. And then you have to walk the remainder, which is a sizable walk. And he calls me, and he's like, yo, Pickles is here. And I'm like, Pickles? Like Pickles? Like the guy who's been putting up with these scores? Like, yo, yeah, he's here. And I'm like, wow. And I was already nervous enough to begin with. Like, that just kind of threw me into overload. I'm like, I bet you I play this guy like early in the round. Like, and I ended up playing him, I think, in the second round of the tournament. I don't remember who I played in the first one. But I saw the bracket, and then I remember like looking up at the bracket. It was like right above the monitor. And I'm like, oh my God damn it. I'm like, I'm gonna play this kid, you know? And I'm already a nervous wreck. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking play Pickles. But at the same time, a little part of me is like, I gotta represent. Like, I could beat him. I know I can, but maybe I can't. You know, just how the mind works. So I was like, if I could do it all over again, I would have picked Unlimited. If I could do it all over again, I would have picked Unlimited. Hands down, because I honestly just did not think he could do PSMO. I read his body structure. I read the way I saw him play earlier in the day. I saw how he kept his hands. I saw how he played with his feet. He was a little bit of both tippy toe, a little back heel, and he was kind of very spastic. And that's the only reason why I didn't pick Unlimited. I didn't want to give him stability. Unlimited is a very stable song over PSMO, but it's very technical, and I didn't want to give him the advantage that I would have had. I didn't know what he would have been bringing to the table, so I took it that I'm going to do PSMO because I have more stamina than him, and I know how many perfects or how many greats I should get by certain points, or how I can really attack this and then just hope like the end sequence kind of just does it for him or whatever, right? That was my thought process, and again, if I could do it all over, Unlimited being my best 10-foot, and probably I was the best one in the city with it at that point. And I think at that junction, I was easily getting under 8-10 greats on an average with the bar. I will get like a random miss here and there too. But like at the most, I would have gotten 12.
Yeah.
Non-perfects, whether it's a miss or a boo, and then like 9 greats. And he could have gotten 18, but I still would have won that round, and then I would have had still the advantage moving on. But I was hoping to kind of really capitalize on a massive gap, that he would miss the runs completely and almost fail the song.
Yeah.
And I remember doing, I was super nervous, but actually when that first step, the first pattern of PSMO came up, and I felt how in sync I was with the game. I was like, I got this. Yeah. I got it. So I remember playing that. Even as I watched the video, I remember how I see how my body was so just lined up like perfectly. And the freeze comes up like da-doom, and I hear Anthony, like he sees my score, and I hear him go woo. But at the same time, Pickles was like, he kind of leans, like it goes da-doom. He was like, "You're doing a great job." Right? And to be honest with you, he could have been talking to himself, right?
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
it was audible enough that at the perfect time I heard it. It was just the slowdown. I hear his woo, but I heard it too, and I took it as like he was talking to me. Honestly, he could have been saying it to himself, like he's nervous. And I wish I would have thought of it like that, but I was like, it took me off. And as soon as that came back, I was messed up. If you watch that video, like I was off a little bit in the once it started up again. Mm-hmm. And then the runs were the runs. I've always had troubles with the runs, but I knew where I can get, like where I can hit, where I was gonna miss, which run I could do. The second run I could always kind of get. The first one I always bobbled myself up, and then I would double up on the third like everyone else did, and then the fourth one I would kind of like get. It was really the luck of the draw. But yeah, like he beat me, and I was like, damn. I was like really, really damn. So then I was like very curious as to what he was gonna play. I think, oh no, it wasn't. It was Dynamite Rave.
Oh, that's what y'all played. Yeah.
Yep. The OG one. When's the last time you played that one?
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah.
You played like the remix. When's the last time you played Dynamite Rave? To be honest with you, and
it was like one of the first songs that we played when we got Extreme, just to say we did it.
Yeah.
We didn't play it.
Yeah. So it's like, I remember he picked it, and I'm like, I don't even know how this song fucking begins.
Yeah.
And it was evident. It came up, and then it took me a second to kind of get it. But at that point, it was a done deal, and I knew I had lost. And we had losers bracket in that one, or was it single?
I want to say it was losers.
I don't remember playing again after that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember if it was single or double, because I feel like the finals have a lot of this. I feel like there's more than 3 videos of Pickles and Reflex playing. But it could have been single. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Overall, I do remember having a good time in that tournament. And what did you place for freestyle?
I didn't place top 3rd.
But that was...
I did get up and move. Yeah. And for what I can remember, it was you. Oh, I remember. I did place 3rd. It was you, Jing, and Osh placed like 4th or 5th. And I remember Osh being really, really upset because he felt like he was like lowballed by someone who was like one of the judges. I won't name him. And I don't even remember his name.
I brought this up in one of my videos, and I forgot why I didn't include it yet. Like,
I think Osh should have gotten 3rd, and quite honestly, he should have gotten 3rd. And I think he was hosed by somebody.
So this guy just didn't like Osh. He didn't like Osh.
It was evident too, because I think there was kind of some internal beef, like on the forum and stuff like that. And he just didn't. He did not like him.
And I don't know if you remember, but there were like as many judges as there were, and I think every other judge gave Osh a high score.
And he purposely gave him like a very bad score.
He wasn't allowed to give Osh a 0, so I think he gave him like a 1.
Gave him a 1 and like changed his average completely.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I did get up and move, and I watched that video and I cringe all the time. It
was good for his time.
It was good for his time, but I was always very like, for me it was always the hand movements. I'm like, what the hell was I doing this whole time? But I remember being really, really nervous before I got up. Like I was almost having like a panic attack. You were like, you're gonna do good. And I would see like, and then Jing had went up like 2 people before me or something like that. And he kind of really set the bar, and you had went up already, I think. And I'm like, how am I supposed to follow this act? That obviously that's first place, that's second place, you know. Yeah, I think I placed third. I want to say I did. Quite honestly, I could have been fourth or fifth, but the one thing I remember is Osh being really upset. I remember Osh kind of like, we were all leaving at the end of the day, and he was like staring this dude down. You remember that? I remember that. Like, Osh was like grilling him. We were all like, I'm like, yo, Osh, let's go. He's just like looking at him. Yeah. I'm like, yo, someone's gotta stay behind. I think if one of us left, Osh is gonna beat this guy's ass. So, it is what it is.
Anyway, you entered 2004, and in 2005, me and you teamed up to do
20th November,
which was actually a pretty good routine. It was a good routine. It's just we couldn't hear anything. And
that's right.
Like, if you watch any of the freestyle videos for 2005, all of us couldn't hear the volume on the.
Actually, they actually dubbed it over with like the music, like we saw with that sauna, because the volume was so low.
Yep.
I don't know if it was the machine itself or the arena, but it was actually really, really low. And there's a part in our song that we were like hitting, but we were supposed to hit like opposite, you know, at the time. What's those notes called?
I think it was like quarter notes, and then there was eighth notes in between the quarter notes.
Yeah, and I just couldn't step and hear it. You know, I think we were both supposed to be hitting like up, and like I was supposed to be hitting the 2 up arrows, and you were supposed to be hitting the 2 down arrows for jumps or something like that.
I think one of us is behind, one of us like
yeah.
I remember that.
Couldn't hear where that in between was, and we ended up failing it. And then and then I really liked the end part where it was like what we did. We did the hat.
It was like we were
mannequins.
We were like tutting, I think. It was a tutting sequence at the end, but it was like,
we gotta watch that.
For like each eighth of a note, it was like, do a little dance.
Yeah.
Help me. We like.
We gotta find that video.
I'll try to find it. Yeah. And then I became into a statue, and you moved.
And I didn't move. I moved and I froze, and you kind of like stood there like, dude. And I'm like, oh shit. And then I did like a little moonwalk, and then it was like, we had the hat, and we were like, it's weird, man. Yeah, you're right. We did like a tut thing. We came around. It was like that, pop, and then the ending was like pop.
Yeah,
that was such a good routine, man. But yeah, like 2005 was kind of, I don't know, it was such a weird tournament. It was that was your tournament, you know, and I think at that point I already phased myself out of like any serious competition in tech. And I was just gonna focus on like freestyle, because I was really enjoying freestyle, and I think a lot had to do with like 2004, and then like I was hanging out with Don a lot at the time, and Don's such a great dancer, and we would always talk about like, you know, freestyle and stuff like that. And for me, it was like, if I'm gonna enter a tournament, I'm gonna do it based on like actual dance, you know, or like routines, and come up with stuff. But yeah, 2005 was such a random one-off in my head. You know, for you, it's like the biggest tournament. You know, you worked really hard on that tournament. I don't think you've gotten to that in your videos yet, but like your thought process of how to eliminate people, and like Gilbert taking that hit for you, and it was so much going into that. Like that was Anthony's tournament, you know. And then 2006 was a very weird year, transition for me. I think a lot happened in that year. I think I started working at my company at that time. Yeah, I started working at my current company at that time, and I think I remember my boss actually going to the tournament to like hand out stuff. But yeah, for me it was just freestyle, and it was on Supernova, and I'm like, there was this one song, "Try to Love You," which I really loved. It was like a little cute little thing, and then it had a little hip hop part, and I just wanted to, in my head, I just wanted to do whatever, like I did it on light. I played the song like a handful of times, just enough for me to kind of get the gist of where I needed to be, and then like put like, if I do this part here, I can afford to miss a couple steps here. And that was the first time I've ever done that in a tournament next to when we did 20th November. Usually when I do a freestyle, I'm just going to go up there and freestyle it. And I really wanted to win that one. And I remember you and I and who we used to kind of talk, because I know you guys were working on something, right?
Yeah.
You used to be like, oh, I got you. I'm like, no, I got you too, And I think I had a conversation with Aj some point before it, and we were talking about the freestyle, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna make a cross.
Oh yeah, that's the routine.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the routine.
Yeah. He was like, wait, what do you mean? I was like, yo, I'm gonna make a cross. He's like, how? My body. And then I remember him, but in that part where I did it the beginning of the routine, and I did the full cross extended, you hear Aj go, ah! He screams he did it. And that to me is my favorite routine. I did a little bit of everything I wanted. I did that cross. I remember I did a handbar stand jump. I did some popping. I did a little foot movement.
We used to just randomly do that. We'd be walking around Times Square and we would just do the cross.
Yeah. And I knew when I did that routine and when I got off of it and I saw everyone, I was like, yo, I got this one. And even when I saw your Scorching Moon, I'm like, they might get me, but I might win this one. And then that was when they introduced the one-offs, the improv.
Yeah.
And I got lucky. There was a song I never even heard before, but Don was like, yo, this is just all popping. Just pop, just wave, just pop. And I literally just did that for a whole minute and 15 seconds. Just I don't remember what I did. I can't even remember the footage of it. But I think that gave me enough of the points to kind of leverage it. But yeah, Try to Love You, that I had a lot of heart into that routine. I think at that point I was kind of dealing with Crystal, the tail end of that. So that was very painful. So then I remember there was another kid that played second. Don't remember who, but the way they did the announcement, they just gave the top two envelopes and stand on one pad, stand on the other and look up, and then Don gave you an envelope, and I he goes, all right, look down your envelope. So that was the big reveal, and I looked and I was there was $2,500 there.
I was gonna ask you how much it was.
Wow, $2,500
for freestyle.
Yeah, and I was like, yo, word, just $2,500. It was $700 for second place or something stupid like that. So or $1,000. I think it was $1,000, and then I forgot what third place was. But yeah, it was $2,500 or $1,500. It could have been $1,500. I want to say it was $1,500. Let me not throw $2,500, but it was up there because $2,000 was yours. Yeah. Yeah, so it was $1,500. My bad. But it was $1,500. I remember. I'm like, yo, I'm good right now. I need it. You ever have those things that you just need? You just have a bad string of bad luck for a couple weeks at a time, couple months at a time, and just something just happens that says, hey, let me breathe a little life into you. It's gonna be okay. And I think for me that was it. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. This is super. I'm done.
I don't remember. I think I really did want to win, but I remember being really happy for you. I wasn't surprised that you won that tournament. I think me and Julio put a lot of work into that routine.
I love that routine.
We were talking about Rob earlier, your manager, and I remember the morning of the freestyle division, we went to Dave & Buster's early. I don't know why we didn't expect to see you there, but you weren't working, maybe because I knew you took off. And me and Julio were like, all right, we're gonna practice, and Rob came over and gave us credits to practice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just because he knew we were frequently there, and we used to spend a lot of money at Dave & Buster's. And was I working? No, I had stopped working there already. I'd already stopped working there, but but I remember we were practicing, but I wasn't mad that you won. I think I was probably more upset that I lost, but not surprised that you won.
What was your improv song?
I don't remember.
That's when Ash did Seduction.
Yeah.
For improv, right?
I think so. Yeah, and I like that.
I that was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And man, that kid, man.
Yep.
He's something else, man. He's very I know you had mentioned in one of your videos, when you come to dancing, you always you always liked his stuff, and then you say like me, you know, like I'm like the dancer, but I'm like, to me it's opposite. Like I take a lot of like Osh, because Osh just has so much flow and just so much heart when he does it. He just does it. Like
I don't know where he learned to dance like that. He just kind of, it's like intuitive for him.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've never not seen Osh not be able to dance, and I think me and you, like, you know, these pretty boy kids from New York City, we were developing our dancing skills. Like, you did not know how to dance as good in 2004 as you did in 2006. Like, I feel like at some point, in my head, I was a better dancer than you at some point. You just kind of kept progressing. But Osh always knew how to dance. He always had that style to him. So I always give Osh credit 100%. He never, like, I like that he never cared as much as we did, because I always felt like he never had some kind of precedent to fill. So he didn't win in 2006. That's fine. He didn't win in 2007, but like, I don't think he was doing it for that, and I think that that's good. You know, me and you had our own agendas, and Osh just kind of went with the flow. So that's cool for him. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in like one of the previous interviews we did, but you're actually a dancer. Like, and I just want people to know that, like, you were on TV for dancing. You were on MTV for DDR.
Yeah, I was on TRL for DDR, and that, you know, was really interesting. You got good credit to Don for this. Don at that point was like very good at networking with a lot of people. I think he was involved with who was the guy that did the Digital Life? Ziff Davis Media, and he was kind of like the brainstorm. He was kind of like, we always considered him like, he's the agent. He's the one that's gonna get stuff done for us, and he's the one that set up that TRL bit. And the one thing I remember is that and I don't know who it was, if it was like the productions of like the television show and stuff like that, had their own guys, stuff like that. But he kind of like fought really hard to make sure that I was on that, and that was just for like DDR promoting like the bundles of like the Supernova PS2. Me and Don were also we're on So You Think You Could Dance. I did season 4 and maybe 7. Can't remember. It was really early on. When we progressed to the next round where we were on TV, and we actually got judged by the judges, and I actually made it to the next round, like choreography round on it. So yeah, I did that, and then
were you with me when I was on MTV? Not when they followed me around, but I went to the studio like you did, but it wasn't TRL. It was like the rap version of TRL.
No, no. I remember being in a studio where like I was in the audience where like Chameleonaire was there and like Lala.
Yeah, I think that was the one that I was on.
Yeah. So yeah, I was there.
So I don't know if you remember this. When this was another Empire story, because I have an Empire story in like one of my other videos that I haven't edited yet. But we always never really got along with the fighting game players in CF. So, and I haven't told this story yet. Yeah, I remember. So we were sitting there in the studio waiting to record, and so we didn't care about Marvel versus Capcom the same way they didn't care about DDR. Like, them being good at Marvel meant zero to us at all. Justin Wong and everybody like that name didn't mean anything to us. So we're sitting there, but I remember trying to be a little diplomatic, because Triforce was there and Justin Wong and all of them. They were there, but they were just audience members. They were there to back me up. Like, they were there to just like cheer me on. And I thought maybe you were there, but I'm not sure. I remember saying we, and I tried to make small talk with them, and I was sitting there, and I go, oh wow, it's so cool that, you know, that everybody who plays video games, that we're all here in MTV. And they just like looked up at us with like disdain, because they weren't the ones being featured. They had to cheer on these DDR players. And they didn't say anything to me, and it was mad awkward. I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, I was there with you, because I remember it was Lala. Mm-hmm. She was the VJ, and there was like a promotion for Chameleonaire, I think Osh was there too, because I was like, yo, who's Chameleonaire? Like, yeah, you know, I didn't know who it was, and we were in the studio, because I remember I was like sitting like looking down like at the street, you know. So yeah, we was definitely there. I don't wonder how that happened. I forgot about that. I thought that was a dream for me.
Yeah, I don't remember how that came about. I feel like it might have been Don, or like maybe they reached out to one of us.
I think it was Don did a lot like of promoting, like, you know, his guys, and trying to get his name out there too as well. But yeah, like I love to dance. If I could do it all over again, I probably would have just tried my hardest to really do that professionally. But yeah, like it just kind of came second nature at the end of it all. And I think where freestyle is kind of where it was always going to lead to. It was always home. And yeah, I mean that's all I got for Digital Life. I think like 2006 was it for me. Is what I needed. Yeah. That was like the perfect goodbye, sail off to the sunset, kind of look from afar. I mean, I didn't enter another tournament, and it wasn't even seriously. It 8 on the break back in like 2009. Did like old timers 1X fifth mix tournament.
I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that.
And we rode deep. Like we rode really, really deep. Yeah. And at that time, I had just like come back from Tennessee like a couple months prior. And you were doing some video footage on the train of interviews. And I remember I said some stupid stuff, just me being the kid I was back then. And then we were playing. We haven't played seriously in so long. And then we're playing fifth mix. And I forgot who I'm playing. I don't even know his name. And the first song like I played in a tournament in years was Synchronized Love on fifth mix. And like I AAA'd it on fifth mix. Like I had my jacket on. Like I still had my jacket on. I had my sneakers, jeans. Like it was not serious at all. And I AAA'd it. And there was another kid that was actually still playing competitively. And I remember I looked over at him, just like look over. He looked at me. He was like, "Yo, chill. Like, what are you guys trying to do here?" I ended up playing him. He waxed me, but like, I was like, dude, like, Synchronized Love is my song. You know, I was always gonna get something good. I could be like 60 years old, unless my hip gives out on me. Like, if I play Synchronized Love, I'm gonna get, you know, I'm gonna get like less than 5 grades on it, no matter what. You know, I can have a cane on, and it's just a song. It's synchronized, no pun intended. And that was then. I think like the very next person, it was you, or you played 2 people after me. But then I don't know if the guy picked Boom Boom Dollar or you picked it, and it was like the speed mix, and you AAA'd it. So here we are, guys in jeans and just like fucking around, eating Philly cheesesteaks and just talking around, and we just like, yo, let's come up here and AAA this real quick.
The ironic thing was that there was more than one person who was taking that tournament seriously. Like, remember Max Paranoia? He was there.
He was?
And there was a couple people from Long Island there, and they came to like play, and we entered that tournament for fun because we like fifth mix. I didn't care if I got knocked out the first round. And all these people were like all these AAA people. Like they put it on speed, and fifth mix didn't have any speed. There was no speed in fifth mix. And they came through, and ironically, as far as I remember, the 2 people who didn't give a fuck about AAAs when we played AAA, we were the only 2 people who AAA stuff. And I think that pissed them off a little bit more. Like, we didn't care. I remember AAA, and I was like, oh yeah, like, and we had stopped playing like 4 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years, no, like 3 or 4 years ago. We weren't even playing anymore. So we come up, and we're the only 2 people who AAA stuff. Admittedly, Synchronized Love is a bit harder to AAA than Boom Boom Dollar. But the Boom Boom Dollar, I remember, had a lot of steps. I don't even think I really played that song in fifth mix. Somebody picked it on me, and I just got
fifth mix. It's fifth mix though. It's fucking the tightest timing window you can have. You know,
it was not easy. So I thought that was ironic. I'm glad you brought that up. But I do remember that, and that was funny, man. All right, the last thing I want to ask you is, and I think I'm gonna ask everybody this, but you're my first interview, so. What was your favorite memory, if you had to pick one, of your time playing DDR competitively from like 2001, 2002 up until like 2006?
That's hard because there's so many different eras at that time that really made an impact. Just not even on gameplay, but friendships, you know, and getting through a lot of hard times of, you know, what we all had going on in our personal lives, and, you know, break from school. But it's hard, but for me, the first thing that always comes to my mind is just white rice and Gatorade.
White rice and Gatorade.
That summer was such a pivotal point, and I think in our friendship that we kind of entered into this new plateau of like, yo, I think we might be kind of friends forever type of deal, you know, and like going to your house early. And I think it was summertime. We didn't have jobs. And I don't know how I had money to do all this stuff almost every day. But like, I would go to his house from the 6th train to Brook Avenue in the Bronx to the President's Street stop on the R train. So I would take the train, transfer to 125th, go all the way down to Brooklyn Atlantic Terminal, or I would go to 59th Street and then take the N and then transfer over there, whatever the case would be. It depends if I wanted to do a local or express. I'll get his house early. I'm talking about like early 9:30, 10 o'clock. We'll walk to the restaurant, to the Chinese restaurant, and we're eating like white rice, just a quart of white rice and Gatorade, just to carb up, and get some sugar in us. It wasn't even coffee time. It wasn't, anything like that. We didn't even drink coffee like that. Well, you did. Yeah. But then we'll go to Coney Island, and that was like the best summer. It's so trivial to think of, so many people, best summer, I spent my summer in Europe, I did this thing. I'm like, no, like, for me, my best memory of like 18 or 19 years old or something like that is going to Coney Island almost exclusively every single day. And sometimes it was me and you, sometimes it was me, you and Ash, and it was Adam, it was Togo, and it was Sarah, and it was Khalil, and it was Andre, and we would just go and play. Yeah. And sometimes we would play for hours, stop, and we'd walk around the boardwalk, we'll fuck around, we'll eat, we'll listen to music, we'll dance, we'll try to hit on girls or flirt, or you just be kids. And that was like the most liberating time of my entire life. That was before bills. That was before, we had to deal with, real life stuff. It was kind of like a graduation of childhood. I think life was kind of given us. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, enjoy this. And if I can go back, I would go back to that summer, like the beginning. Like, we go back in time, like, let's spend the summer back in, whatever type of deal. And that was actually really just like the best time. Obviously, we have like the s'mores and stuff like that. That was always cool. But like that summer, the white rice and Gatorade summer, and really just beating ourselves to death in this game. And we didn't even know what we had at the time. We were so young and naive. But we had so much fun. And a lot of that is documented in the videos. But yeah, I don't think anything is ever going to top that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard to capture like how much fun that was, because like one of my favorite memories was the beginnings. I don't know if I would say this is my favorite memory, but it was the beginnings of DDR. This is like 5th mix, and it was just like a meetup in Fun World, but in Fordham. The Fun World in Fordham, not the one in Bruckner. It was just like,
oh my god,
it was just like meet up in Fun World, and it was not a tournament. It was not a money thing.
I remember that, yeah.
It was just and everybody from the city. It wasn't even just like, this is one of the reasons why I wish that I could get on DDR Freak. There's a website called Wayback Machine. If you ever want to look at websites from the past that don't exist anymore. So I don't know how they did this. I feel like I should know this as a software engineer, but they took snapshots of websites from like as far back as you could think of, any website you could think of. So I've been on Wayback Machine looking at DDR Freak, and what it is like you click on the New York forums and it shows you the threads, but when you go in the threads, it didn't snapshot the threads. Mm-hmm. So I can't find any specific information to refresh my memory. But this was just a meetup. It was just like meetup, and everybody, NYDS people were there. I think Afronoia Nick from CF was there.
Which was very rare.
Yeah, you didn't see him come out. It was Broadway City. All the Broadway City people came up. I think like JDS, Dorian, Sabrina, and them. Everybody from the city just decided to show up at Phone World and just play DDR. And that was it. And that was way before I was competitive. Like, what was like 2005 and like me winning a tournament and the options and stuff, was that great? Yeah. But some of the best times I ever had was like the beginnings of DDR, the beginnings of DDPD, mm-hmm. meeting up with you and Omar and Stefan and Andre and Ash, Julio, and just playing DDR and like progressing. And it's not to say that like what these kids have now, or like the people who play, it's not to say that they don't have a good thing. But that beginnings of DDR, nobody will ever be able to experience that again.
Yeah.
And we were experiencing that. People all over the world were probably experiencing that. But the way that New York is structured, and the way that you could just take trains and buses, and the way schools are structured, it was special, man.
Yeah, I agree.
It was so special.
The beginnings were definitely the ones that the memories kind of stick out a lot, you know, the most. And then just, again, it's just the freedom. The freedom that we didn't know we had. And we thought we had a, you know, tough day. I ain't got no money in my pocket type of deal. But we figured it out.
Yeah.
You know, you try coming out your house now with like $2 in your pocket, no credit cards, and just try to figure out what you're gonna eat. What you're gonna eat for. You have no cell phones either. You just free. You do that now as an adult, you won't make it. You won't make it down the block. Yeah. You'll turn around. You're like, I can't do it. Like, you'll get a full-blown anxiety attack. And here we are traveling from one borough to like the deepest ends of the other borough with no more than like $10 in your pocket. And you gotta make that last. And we will have like 3-course meals somehow.
Yeah. We go to McDonald's, Popeyes.
You know, we hit up the dollar menu, we hit up the dumpling spot, and we had, as long as we had a one-way in the back on MetroCard, and even sometimes that even stop us, we'll figure out a way, you know, MetroCard trick, we'll find quarters here, and whatever the case may be, we'll walk. You know, we used to walk mad deep. Like, when you say deep, like, people used to walk from like Times Square to home in the Bronx, or you walk the Brooklyn Bridge, you know, just because you don't want to go home and deal with shit.
3 hours worth of walking.
3 hours worth of walking after playing, like, spending, you know, burning how many calories throughout the day already playing DDR, and then you're just going to keep walking. It was fine. You could do that. Your body could handle that. And then you do it again the next day. So it's like, I challenge anyone to try and do that now. It's just like, I don't think we'd be able to make it, you know, with just like no money in our pockets. And we did it.
Yeah, it was fun, man. So I just what I want to do to wrap this video up is to just let people know and let you know that, like, obviously me and you have been friends for a very long time. You know that I respect you as a person and as a DDR player, but like in my original video, I said I wasn't doing this to go viral or for money. I'm doing this for like our legacy, so that our legacy lives somewhere, because I don't think it gets enough recognition. And this is not just for New York City. I think everybody has their own story. So I'm doing this for my region. And people tend to overlook, a lot of us, people tend to overlook you because you know, you didn't triple everything. You know, you didn't triple Extreme, or you know, you didn't quad star everything in the groove. So that the beginning phases of DDR and what came before Spencer's and the big Mats, like how the community knows Matt now, and all of that, people don't realize how much work you put in and how passionate you were about the game and who you are in real life compared to DDR. Like, and I think people need to know that. So I want to say that I always thought you were a great DDR player.
Appreciate that. And
that you can't look. What I'm trying to say, if I had to sum it up, is if you wrote a history of DDR, you can't leave Angel out of it. You can't leave Phataxel out of a history of DDR. Do I think that people like me and Angel need like a whole chapter in like a 28 chapter DDR book? Nah, I'm not saying that. But like, if you were talking about the beginnings of DDR, you would have to talk about, out of the tens or hundreds of thousands of people who have played, you'd have to talk about Phataxel. You'd have to talk about Angel. Angel is one of the more commercially successful DDR players in the sense that he's been on MTV for DDR. Not too, even really good DDR players can't say that. So you have to give that kind of recognition. You know, you put DDR on the spotlight for, you promoted, you know, you got on a game. It wasn't just random. Like, they didn't choose you randomly. You were already one of the best players in New York City. So, you know, I want people to understand that you have a big impact. You've probably impacted a lot more people than you understand. So I wanted you to tell your story, and I wanted to get you on here so that people can hear your story. So, you know, thank you for coming. You know, this guy flew all the way up from Florida. We haven't seen each other in a while.
Free room and board, man. He even plays the plane ticket. It's like the Jimmy Fallon show over here, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dressing room, makeup.
Yeah.
You know, fishnet shirt.
Fishnet shirt. Gotta
perk you up.
Nah, but we both have families. We both do, you know, we're living our lives, but we still keep in touch. And, you know, Angel's he's probably, I'm not going to say probably, Angel's the best friend that I've ever had. You know,
Likewise.
It's nice that we still get to do stuff like this. So thank you, you know.
Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
And, Angel's my first interviews, but I'll have more people on. So, stay tuned for more stuff. So,
peace.
Like, comment, and subscribe.